I'd like to call to order the special meeting of the Pflugerville City Council, December 19th at 6:01. Our first item is public comment in accordance with the Attorney General's opinion. Any public comment that is made, that is made on an item that is not on the published final agenda will only be heard by the City Council. No formal action, discussion, deliberation, or comment will be made by council. Each person providing public comment will be limited to 3 minutes. Might give Woody an extra minute. Our first person is Dale Woodkey.
Is he wearing any Canadian gear?
Well,
Oh,
this has something to do with that, being Canadian. I got to read this because I can't speak worth a darn. So my name's Dale Woodkey. I'm a transplanted Canadian who has made Pflugerville my home for the last 11 years. My wife has been a resident for over 3 decades, and we couldn't be happier living here. I wasn't born in Texas, but I got here as quick as I could. I'm speaking out to you today to express my sincere interest in contributing to the betterment of our community through active participation in the various boards within the city of Pflugerville. As a resident and someone deeply involved in local nonprofits, and with my wife as a partner in a local business, I believe I have a unique perspective to offer. I understand and respect the importance of citizenship in the selection process for these boards. However, I would like to inquire about the rationale behind this requirement. While I am not a Canadian citizen or American citizen, I cannot vote. I am fully committed to the well-being and progress of our community. My active involvement in local nonprofits, and again, my wife's participation in a local business, demonstrates our dedication to the prosperity of Pflugerville. I believe that civic engagement is not limited to citizenship status alone. Many aspects of community development involve diverse skills, experiences, and perspectives, which I am eager to contribute to. I would appreciate the opportunity to discuss how my background and my involvement in the community could be valuable assets to the various boards. I understand that legal considerations may influence the eligibility criteria for these positions. However, I'm hopeful that we can explore alternative ways for residents like me, and I'm probably the only Canadian, who are deeply involved in the community to actively participate in shaping the future of Pflugerville. I'm open to discussing this matter further and exploring potential solutions that align with the city's requirements while recognizing the value that diverse perspectives bring to our community. I look forward to your consideration, and I'm available to discuss this at any time. Thank you for your time and your dedication to the betterment of Pflugerville.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor, I think we have a requirement for all of our boards and commissions that require a resident to be, or an applicant to be a registered voter. I think we could maybe ask staff to go back and look at it. I think the reason we did that is to kind of make an easy litmus test for making sure that they were a resident of the city. If they're a registered voter here, then they're a resident of the city. Sometimes people may have a homestead exemption outside the city and live here, and so if they're registered to vote here, that was a really good, straightforward, easy litmus test. I think maybe we may have heard an exception to that rule, and perhaps we may, at a future date, revisit that rule to see if there is a different citizenship test, a residency test rather, that we can use that won't ostracize upstanding citizens in our community.
Okay. Well noted.
Well, he's an upstanding citizen of Canada.
Okay, moving on. We'll put that on the agenda, I'm sure.
Thank you, sir.
Our next item is to conduct introductions and take action to make appointments to the library board for up to 3 regular members for 2-year terms beginning January 1st, 2024, and 1 alternate member for 1-year term beginning January 1st, 2024. This evening, we have those 3 positions open. I believe we have 5 applicants, so I think library board, and I believe there was 1 other board or commission that maybe had excess candidates, which is great. But as we mentioned during the meeting, if you are not selected for 1 board or commission, you might want to hang around, you could get selected for another one that perhaps we're not able to fill as quickly as we'd like. The library board applications we received this evening are Matt Robertson, Sarah Eddy, Jillian Arispe, Lisa Sparkman, and Elizabeth Hudson. So I'm going to call each one of you up here, and you'll have a few minutes to present yourself, and then you may or may not have, typically you will have, council members asking you questions, so just be prepared for that. The first applicant I have here is Elizabeth Hudson. Is she here?
Hi everyone, I'm Elizabeth Hudson. I have been a member of the Pflugerville community for about 10 years. My husband has been part of the P&Z Commission for a few years as well, which he really enjoys. He actually has inspired me to give back to the Pflugerville community as well, and I wanted to do something that really makes me feel passionate about, which is the library. I have a 5-year-old son, who you just saw leave right now, who is learning to read. We go to the library so often for many years. I remember taking him to the baby time with Miss Carmen, and now we're checking out Pokemon books. I grew up in the library. I still participate in the summer reading programs. My mom is actually a librarian in Houston, so we talk a lot about the challenges and also the benefits of having a public library. And I understand the importance of advocating for your local library as well, because it's very important for your community, which is something I really want to do here. I have 12 years of marketing experience working with AMD, Amazon, and IBM, and I feel that my marketing experience would be very beneficial to the board. Thank you.
All right. Council, do you have questions? Too soon?
Yeah. Well, she already has it checked off, so I don't have to ask that one question I ask everybody. But Doug, you always have one too, huh?
So PF 101, I see that you have not taken part in that program. You heard about the program?
No, I actually have not.
Okay. To me, one of the things that I love about the program is that it gives a great overview regarding the inner workings of the city and the process procedures, and gives an overall analysis of that. Given what you're wanting to do here on the library board, and you said that you're familiar with community service through your husband, what do you think you bring to that board that's unique and different from any of the other applicants here?
I think from seeing previous library board meetings, I think it can bring that marketing perspective. I know there's a lot of people with, public school education and other professions, and I think especially seeing what the library has done through marketing awareness, something I think that could be beneficial that I can bring is something of specifically sharing what is happening at the library, because it's kind of hard to understand what's going on with the event calendar. Like, for example, doing like a social media post showcasing like a weekly roundup, what's happening the full week, versus doing a post that just shows what's happening that specific day, because people can see it and just totally miss out on that opportunity. And that way you give more people time and flexibility to decide whether or not they can come to this event on a Tuesday versus like a Friday.
Have you seen that as a hindrance before?
I do, because as
Because
a mom,
that's quite a specific example. That's
well,
why
yes,
asked.
I mean, the reason why I say that is because I was a stay-at-home mom for a year, especially during the pandemic, and trying to find places to go and not knowing where to go during that time, and going to social media and then like, oh, it already passed. I missed out on that opportunity, and having to go on the websites, it wasn't as easy to find, things to do with kids, especially during that time. And so I think making it more easy and accessible to people to provide more information as possible, because some people are not on those channels.
One of the things I want to emphasize with every applicant this year, you just happen to be the first one for all our boards, is that I found in my life and the various different roles that I've had that when you have power, it doesn't create character, it illuminates it. And teamwork is a necessity to work with people. And there's some people who go out for these positions, run for office, do things just to obtain power as opposed to make a demonstrable difference and share more for people. What's an example of you using teamwork and your ability to go ahead and galvanize people to make a demonstrable difference in any goal that you had?
Yeah, so actually, when I was working at Amazon, it's very the mentality where you don't have that much direction at all whatsoever. You figure it out on your own. There's not that much training or anything. And being able to work with other team members, you know, in my role specifically, I didn't have that much support. Everyone was in different states or different countries and trying to work together to bring, you know, project to execution under tight deadlines and being able to show that, yes, we can do it either under pressure with the pandemic. No one was going to office, working from home, things out as we went. And it was great to be able to do things with other people when you didn't actually see them in the office. And so it just showed like how much of a team effort can really make a difference in those situations.
So I have a question. And it's really not related to the library, but I think it's important to the reason you're here, or actually all of us are here. And you've been in Pflugerville for 10 years, is that
Yes.
correct? Okay. Why is Pflugerville important to you?
So I grew up overseas. I traveled a lot, and I moved back to Texas for college. I'm originally from Houston, and it's huge. You can get lost in the shuffle pretty easily. And when we moved to Pflugerville, I liked how much more smaller and more it was about the community. And I liked all the different, you know, Dorschenfest and then the different things you could do as well, where it didn't feel like you were in a bottleneck, so to speak, as a larger city. And my husband and I love it here so much. We started a family here. We made more friends here. And I just loved how it really hasn't changed so much in 10 years compared to like Austin or surrounding areas like even Hutto. It's grown so big. And just, I liked how, you know, Pflugerville hasn't really changed that much, really.
Okay, good. Well, I hope you're around for a long time. I was here when the population was 272 people.
Yeah.
So,
One quick question for you. What's your most favorite program that the library offers?
So I always enjoyed doing the different like kid programs and the little take home things you can do with your child and like arts and crafts. Especially because my son just started kindergarten this year, and that's something I really enjoyed doing because I'm not a teacher, and they did provide, you know, great instructions on what to do and recommendations. And I loved how they have a YouTube channel and read to kids, especially if you weren't able to go to the library if your child was sick. And so I really enjoyed those types of services to make it more accessible.
any other questions? Thank you very much.
Right,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Our next candidate, or applicant, I should say, is Sarah Eddy.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you today. My name is Sarah Eddy. I have lived in Pflugerville since 2011 when my partner Sam and I bought our house over in Falcon Point. I am an attorney at a law firm downtown. I'm a patent attorney, so I write life sciences patents because I have a PhD in biochemistry. The library board and libraries generally are so important to me and my development from when I was little to an adult. I grew up in a town of 300 people in the middle of nowhere, Arkansas. And if you believe my family, I learned to read when I was 3 years old. And that was in no small part because my papa would take me to the library and read books with me. And so I have this rich history with libraries. And I mean, it's probably a good thing considering I was in school until I was almost 30 years old, that I love to read and have loved libraries for so long. And that library in that small town made that small town feel a little bit less small. And so I was so appreciative of that. And so fast forward, you know, to today, Sam and I moved here in 2021. We set down roots in Pflugerville. And one of the most important things for me was getting involved in my community. And because I am passionate about libraries, that it just seemed like a natural fit to try out for the library board. I am a graduate of Pflugerville 101. I took the course earlier this year. It was so much fun to get to learn about the city, a really valuable experience. And, you know, just further affirm that I do want to be on this board and help the city in whatever small way that I can. I'm happy to take any questions that you guys might have for me.
Questions?
What was the impetus for you to take Pflugerville 101?
I have friends that have taken it, highly recommended it. I also just wanted to learn more about how the city worked. This is the first city, you know, we've bought a home in, and so it was important to me to have a better understanding of, you know, where I live and what goes on and what, you know, drives the day-to-day operations.
What unique specific skill set do you bring that would enhance the board and its ability to work with their great librarian staff?
Yeah, I am an attorney with a STEM background. That's a unique combination of skills. You know, I'm a great writer, I'm a great listener, I'm a great communicator because of this background, and I know how to make things fun. I used to volunteer at a children's museum all throughout when I was in grad school, and so I learned how to, you know, take my skills in the lab and my skills as a communicator and apply that in a setting where I had to communicate, you know, fun science things to kids and adults. So.
What have you seen specifically that you would look to either enhance or improve at the library?
I would love to expand their STEM programming, you know, in addition to all of their other fun programming that they have. I remember when I was volunteering at the Children's Museum, there were several of those programs that could easily be transferred into the library space. You don't have to have a museum setting for those kinds of things.
And what's an example of you being a team player and helping enhance the group's ability to succeed?
Every day at work, I have to work with other attorneys to you know, bring patent applications across the finish line. That's not a one-person job. I can't do that by myself. I think that the clients that I work with end up with much better patents, much stronger patents, when I have the perspectives of other attorneys working on these cases with me. So it's an everyday thing for me. Teamwork is not just, you know, one single example.
Okay.
What is your most favorite program that the library currently offers?
Every quarter, they do a review of the librarian's favorite books, and I've been a few times, and every single time I've left with a huge list of books on my to-read list. It's incredibly long. I'm never going to get to them all. So I really like that program.
Awesome. Thank you, Doctor.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next candidate is Jillian Arispe.
Good evening. My name is Jillian Arispe. I am the current chair of the library board. This is my third year on the library board. Every time that it comes up in conversation with people I meet about serving on the library board, they ask me, what do you guys do? What is that? And my initial response is always, it's so much more than books. Earlier this year, the board had the opportunity to attend the Texas Library Association that was held in Austin this year, the conference for all librarians across the state. And while I was there, I met with people from the State Library Association who had just completed a project on computer literacy and access for all over the state of Texas. And so I told them I was from Pflugerville. They came in and like zoomed in on on the city to sort of show the breakdown of our computer and accessibility, what our residents have reasonable means to get. And we were about half good and half fair. And the people from library associations, I think, were a little surprised by that. They thought being in Pflugerville, right next to Austin, we would have everything would be in the bright blue. Everybody would have great access. And having served on the library board, I could see that, no, that makes sense based on the things that people are coming to us and asking for. We offer computers that people can check out, laptops. We offer hotspots that are continually requested. I don't think you can never just walk in and get one. There's always a wait list. They've always wanted. The free Wi-Fi in the parking lot. All of these things that we continue to work on to give people Pflugerville the things that they need. Yes, there's books. Yes, we have story time. Yes, we have all the programming for people to come, have social events around that. But we're taking care of all the other community needs as well. We've worked with Austin Public Health to provide flu shot clinics, COVID vaccines clinics during the pandemic, just because there's the space and the means, it's a place that the community is familiar with, where they're comfortable. And that's why I want to continue on the board, continue the work that we're doing, to make sure that we're meeting all of the needs that we have, working in partnership with the city council, in partnership with the other boards, to make sure that the library really feels like our community's living room, is a safe space. Anybody can go there for whatever questions they have, whatever information they're looking for. Somebody is there to help them find it. They have the means to access it, and they don't feel judged for going there for whatever they may need help with. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Well, I see that I was going to say if you've overcome adversity, and I've seen that you've overcome your education background to work at a fine institution of the highest order. One of the things that I thought about as you were speaking was that you said that you would like to coordinate and work with other boards and the council, I guess in retrospect, to enhance the mission and the work of the library board. How long have you been chair?
I've been chair this past year.
What have you done in the last year to go ahead and actually help make that come to fruition?
Well, we have been very, very fortunate enough to have now host two pieces of artwork, as the council has made the effort to have more city art pieces. We have one piece already installed. We're awaiting a new piece. The board has worked with the artists who have come in to ensure that these are good fits for the library, for the patrons coming to the library, that they make sense for the community. And we're now have ideas of how do we make this bigger? Can we maybe work with the Parks Board to turn some of our spaces where we're going to have some of these art pieces to then make little walkways, little paths, little community gardens, working with other entities in the city to be like, okay, we have this on our space. What can you do to add to this? Because again, we just want people to come to the library for a place to relax and feel comfortable.
What's an example of you using your leadership as a chair to go and help support and enhance either the viewpoints, ideas, or concepts come up from your fellow board members?
Well, I definitely work in conjunction with our great library director. She gives us lots of structure about what the library day-to-day needs help with. And then throughout our meetings, for example, when we had our first artist come in to show us their design for the sculpture that he wanted to make, we worked together to ask a lot of questions, we have young kids who are going to come in, be poking at things, touching things. Is it going to be safe for them? Are there any hard edges? We're right next to the high school. Our high schoolers are great, but high schoolers can get a little rowdy. Is this something that they can knock over? So we wanted to make sure that the safety was accounted for. How are we going to maintain this? We want this to always look nice for the city for the years to come. What are the things that we need to do once you've installed this piece for us? What do we need to take on? And then we moved on to, we even were able to pick out the colors for the sculpture. He had the design in mind, but he said he wanted us to be included in the process. So we were able as a board to then go through and look at the samples of the paint he had and really feel like we had our hands in the project that now resides outside the library.
Let me ask you one question, a little bit different than I've asked the new applicants. But what is something over your term on the board that you are proud that you have been able to accomplish, that you feel that you had a hand in making happen? What are you most proud of?
One of the projects that we've been working on since I came onto the board is maximizing our space. Our library is not really big enough for how big Pflugerville is. We know that. We get that lots of feedback, like we want more books, we want larger collections, and to do that we have to utilize our limited floor space as best we can. And then to go back to what the community needs, as we've seen an increase in people working hybrid schedules or working from home, or going to work for themselves and maybe they don't have a truly dedicated office space. Sometimes they'll come to the library for some of those resources, but it's open air. Our computer spaces are not enclosed. So we've been working this past year to secure pod spaces so that someone can come in, sign up, and you have an enclosed space where if you have a job interview, you can go in there and have a quiet space. If you need to hold a meeting, if you just need a place to sit and think with maybe a little bit of the less ambient noise, working to use that. And then because these are pods, they are mobile. We can't just roll them every day, but we would be able to move them around as needed to, again, be flexible with the space as the needs of either our collection or the community change.
Nice. Nice. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Real quick, what are some of the, I know you mentioned a few earlier, but what are some of the biggest challenges you've seen over the past 3 years, and if reappointed, how will you address those challenges?
I think some of the biggest challenges do lie in just letting people know what we have available. There's so many fantastic resources, and just getting that out to the community. There's so many different avenues that people are looking. There are social media. We have a new marketing staff person who just started this year who's fantastic. And we're trying, always constantly having conversations about what are the best ways to reach the community, to let them know not just of upcoming programs, but the things that they can come to the library and get all the time that are just there for them at their fingertips. And so on the continuing on the board, I would very much like to continue that, to try and find the best avenues for outreach. Where are people looking for the information, where we can meet them? Because I think right now there's just so many different avenues, it's kind of difficult to hit everybody where they might be looking. So maybe we can direct people to some more central locations. That would be something that I would like to work on.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Lisa Sparkman?
Hello, I'm Lisa Sparkman. I've been an alternate on the board this year, and it's been a really interesting experience. I'm a retired educator. I've taught in Pflugerville a long time, and we've lived in Pflugerville, my family, for about 40 years. I have grandchildren and an elderly mother, and my children who've all used the library and who look at, the different programs that are there. But one of the interesting things, as an alternate, you don't really get a vote unless there's, somebody absent. And so a lot of this year has been spent listening and watching and making some comments now and then on what's going on. It's been fascinating because one of the things that I have seen being here so long is that the community has grown and changed so much. You mentioned what a small population there used to be here. And I can remember seeing the population signs for like 1,000 people. And now it's such a large community. And our library has done an amazing job of reaching out to the community and broadening the types of programs and offerings. As I can remember when the library was in a little house, and I remember when the library building was built and how exciting that was. And as our community has grown and the library, we mentioned how the library needs more room, and we have so many more people, and we have to be very flexible about how we're going to meet the needs of this larger community, whether it's through pods, whether it's through the take-home kits, whether it's through some of the programs that we have that often come with the help of the library, the Friends of the Library. So one of the reasons I would like to continue on the board is, as I have watched from the little house to the building to this larger community, I would like to see how we're going to expand our services, how we're going to serve our community through the library. Like I said, I taught for a long time, and my kids have used the library. My students, with my students, I always knew the importance of both the school and the public library. So being on the board allows me to kind of not only see how the library offerings grow, but help it grow. And that's very important.
Hey, Lisa, you said you do not have a vote, but you have input on.
I do have input. Yeah, I'm able to make comments. But as an alternate, it's a really important learning experience, I think, the first year on a board.
Okay, questions?
I was curious. First of all, thank you. Do you want to remain an alternate or do you want to actually be on the board?
Oh, I would like to be on the board. I know the alternate is a 1-year position. Being on the board is generally a 2-year position. So
Okay.
I would definitely like to be a regular member of the board.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, Council?
I'll give you the same question, although it's the alternate's kind of a middle ground there. So I'll let you choose. You either tell me your favorite program that the library offers, or tell me something that you've had a hand in accomplishing and that you're proud of.
I would guess that I find it hard to come up with a favorite program because, like I said, I have grandsons, I have children, I have an elderly mom. One of the things that I think is so wonderful about the library programs is that there's an offering for all these different age
That's
groups.
a great answer. That's a great answer.
It really makes the library much more inclusive. And it's inclusive too because we have had, we have the kitty cafe, or we have a way to try to bring people in to help the animal shelter. Let's adopt some animals. We have had some programs where people bring in their gently used warm weather clothing or cold weather clothing and trade with other people. And it ranges from a lot of possibility for older folks to come in and do crafts and have lots of interaction to, of course, the smaller ones when they come in to read. So, yeah, I heard the question earlier. What's your favorite? It's hard to come up with because there really are so many wonderful ones.
All right. Thank
Lisa,
you.
I see that you've worked at the greatest library in the history of man at the University of Texas. And what have you, it's interesting to hear your perspective because you've been here for 40 years. You've had varying different perspectives as a teacher, librarian, other aspects from there. What do you think you uniquely bring to the board that would be of service, in helping to betterment the mission of the library?
Well, I have worked in several different kinds of libraries. I also I went to UT's Library Information Science program. I was in there for a couple of years before I had children and stopped for a while. Working in education, I have worked in a lot of different types of schools, from Title I to higher level type of schools. I have basically helped manage the gifted and talented program in Pflugerville and also in Round Rock. And so I think I come with good management experience and an understanding of the types of folks in our community and a real strong interest in libraries. One of the things I said last year when I was hoping to join the board was that I started a library in my grandmother's garage when I was probably in elementary school and ran it for the neighborhood kiddos. I'm really, really passionate about libraries and children and serving the community. And so this being on the board, now that I'm not teaching anymore, offers an opportunity to continue doing what I've done all my life.
And finally, what example do you have, specific example of you using your skill sets and abilities in a teamwork fashion to enhance and support those around you?
Well, a couple of years ago, when I was a gifted and talented specialist in Pflugerville ISD, we lost our lead, the person over the 10 of us who served the elementary schools for elementary GT pullout. There were several of the 10 who were new, several who were more experienced, who'd been there a while. And one of the things I did was keep the monthly meetings going, making sure that the training for the newer folks kept the momentum that it needed so that they would know what to do each month. I tended to make sure that the overall structure was there so that all of the folks who were at the different elementaries could make sure that they were able to do their jobs and serve the kids that they needed to serve. I was really proud of that because I basically just stepped in and we didn't get anyone else for almost a year. So it was, I am proud of keeping that team running.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
I just want to riff a little bit on some of the questions that my compatriots have asked.
Okay.
You haven't been here quite as long as the mayor, but 40 years ago, I think that what the population signed was about 1,500?
About, yeah.
Something like that when you got here. So, and you've seen the library when it's very small. And as Rudy said, you didn't work at the Library of Alexandria, but you worked at some other very large libraries.
Yes.
In that time that you have seen the library go from just being in the little house that's now the home to United Partners to where it is now, two questions. What is the addition of program or service that the library has offered that you've been most excited about in those 40 years? And what do you think the library needs to add in the next 10?
Oh my gosh. One of the things that I've been most impressed with as the library has grown is the inclusiveness and care for not just the little kids in the community, but for a broad range of people in the community. So when it was in the little house, they checked out books, you know? And as the library has grown, there is a young adult room now. And they absolutely make sure that the teenagers who come in are welcome. And they have ways to make this area of the library very inclusive and very positive and welcoming for teenagers. So that's an example of just the inclusive. During the pandemic, one of the things that impressed me with my grandsons I had a little bitty one who'd been in daycare, and then he lost all his friends during the pandemic because we were all stuck at home. But the fact that you could drive through the library and pick up some books, or you could drive through the library and pick up a kit to do a craft. It was amazing how they switched from face to face public service to the public service that best met the needs of the community during the pandemic. As far as the future, using what we have in the building right now, obviously, using it more effectively is really important. I really think if you're thinking 10 years down the way, we're going to have another library building somewhere in that. Our mileage in Pflugerville, how big Pflugerville is, it just keeps growing. I'm stunned sometimes when I drive farther out and see how many houses there are. Pflugerville to me has always seemed like, just this little area around here, but it's huge. So it seems like we're eventually going to have either a larger library or another one. I know we are talking right now about the ability for people to, out near the lake, have a little mini station there. And I think that's going to be, for the library. I think that's a really good idea. But if you're talking 10 years, yeah, I bet we're going to need more space.
We may have to bring back the bookmobile era.
Wouldn't that be wonderful? Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Matt Robertson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. Thank you for having us this evening and hosting us. My name is Matt Robertson. I've been a resident of Pflugerville for about 25 plus years. After 20, I just started counting by fives, so it's somewhere between 25 and 30. I got stationed down here at Fort Hood, Texas. I was in the United States Army, 4th 42nd Field Artillery. Met my wife from Buda. And we've been living in Pflugerville ever since. So my kids have grown up here. They've went to college at Texas A&M and the University of Portland in Oregon. But they've come home now. So we've gone through the library when they were young. And I didn't use the library for a large quantity of time. Because I didn't need it. I mean, if I bought a book, if I wanted a book, I'd buy a book, right? And so once my kids got out of that library phase where I thought something they needed was at the library, I didn't really attend. And there's so much more at the library that I'm discovering just in the 2 years that I've been on the board that we need to raise awareness for and let people know that there's other things out there like the Fab Lab and all these things that they can come and do. There's just so many things like the plant swap, the clothes swap, all these things, the convention for, LibCon. So there's so many things out there available. I've been a part of the Boy Scouts. I've been a part of the Girl Scouts. I've been a part of the Cub Scouts. I've been at HOA in my community. I have extensive kind of experience in volunteering. I've taught religious education at St. Elizabeth's for a large quantity of time. I'm seeking re-election on the library board. In my first year, I stepped up to the role of secretary. This year, I'm as vice president. And I'm just excited where the library is going. The city's growing, and I'm excited to be a part of it, and I'm very passionate about being a part of it, and I would like a re-election. I'm more than happy to answer any of your questions.
Sure. Council, questions?
He's a known commodity. See him everywhere at church, everywhere else. So you already just give them one example of you. I mean, you do an excellent job as a leader, empowering other people and creating more leaders. The best thing a leader can do is create more leaders. Just give one example of you doing that, either in all different roles that you have.
I thought about that because I had the benefit of going last. The hard part about that is you got to sit there and the anticipation builds, so then you're going last. So it's a boon and a negative. But I'm not sure that I can give one example because there's aspects of teamwork in every aspect of your daily life, from being on the council to being a parent, to your own personal relationship at home with your significant other. There's so many aspects where you have to engage in teamwork daily. Just driving to work or not driving to work, getting groceries, anything. For an example, we recently had a call for the HOA board last night because the pool company is overcharging us. The new contracts are coming in for January, and I caught a slip on there where the increase was 10%. And you have to make sure that everybody's heard. You have to make sure that everybody's opinion has value and that you're hearing everybody. And I think I excel at that, listening to everyone and trying to come to a middle ground that takes everyone's opinion into view and into account. So I think that's one of the places where I excel at.
So, Matt, let me ask you this. I know several of the candidates have already indicated the perception or vision of not having enough space, needing a bigger facility, and that's inevitably when you grow as fast as Pflugerville is growing, you have those challenges. What is your perspective on a facility that would accommodate the needs of Pflugerville, the library?
I mean, I think it's a great idea to add another library, another facility. I mean, but we have to work within our means. So if we can afford to build another library, that's great. Let's build another library. If we can't afford to build another library, we need to figure out how to make our library work, right? Do we extend the hours? Do we add on more people? Do we have, QR codes around the neighborhoods to raise awareness? So we have to work within the means and abilities that we have. But yeah, having another library would be outstanding. A lot of the space, when I went to the TLA conference, I wasn't really, it was the first time I went, so I didn't know what to expect. And so I was looking for storage solutions because the library is, 20, 25 feet tall. And so you're losing that 12 to 15 feet above. So, what could I hang from the ceiling that we could drop down to get books? This is where my thought process was, is how can we use the space that we have so we can extend that and make that the life of the library longer before we get a new building.
Okay.
Tell me, Matt, what's something over your first term here on the library board that you feel you have accomplished that you're very proud of?
It's something that I haven't accomplished yet, and so that's why I need reelected so I can accomplish it. But I've been suggesting a mascot for the library to integrate the family aspect of it. Freddie the Frog or Francesca the Frog. Something like that.
Freddie and Francesca.
Whatever.
It's obviously
frog,
a PF
right?
name, right?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. A
I was
PF
like,
name.
he should say.
But we don't. Frog, fox, something like that. But definitely with a PF. And it's something I introduced to our library director, and it's something I introduced to our new PR employee at the library, and something that I think would be a great integration into Pflugerville. You can have them wear the mascot outfit, family events and stuff like that. So it just builds more community, and it makes the library more accessible. One of the things I'm proud of is LibCon. I participated in that this year. So that was a huge event. There was a lot of cosplaying going on. I think there was over probably 100, 150 people. I'm not really sure what the count was. But it was 2,000. So yeah, it was a huge amount of people. And so just that, I was only at one desk. So just participating in that was a thing. So if we can incorporate more things like that, where we can gather a mass of the community for these events, I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
Awesome. And to answer your question about what program do I like the most, it's one I haven't been able to get into yet. It's the Spice of the Month Club. I've tried for the last 3 months, and that thing fills up like the next day. And they advertise the Spice of the Month Club just because I enjoy cooking. So I'm fighting to get into that one.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor,
Thank you, man.
Council.
Thank you.
So let me preface the process here, and not just for this board or commission, but the ones to follow. where we have had candidates, and maybe in this case had one extra candidate. I know that in reviewing the applications that we have a lot of talented individuals that are wishing to give of their time, and we appreciate that very much. In the past, the voting process on council was we'd jot down our preferences on a little piece of paper, hand it down the row, and the city secretary would count it, and whoever got the most votes got the positions. That hasn't changed. However, the process is different in that now we have to vote on the little electrical process that we have here. And so one of the things I would mention to council is if you're considering recommending a batch of applicants, let's say candidates A, B, C for regular position, let's not do that. Because I may want candidate D instead of the A, B, C, and vice versa. And I think you know where I'm going with that, is that we're going to vote on these individually. And I'll call out the names. Trista will keep record of it somehow.
Mayor?
Yep.
I think, depending on how you wanted to proceed, of course, I think we could still do a straw poll and vote ordinarily as a, not as the official vote, but just as sort of a ranking procedure. And then based on that ranking, someone can make a motion for that batch. And then we could vote on that. And then we can vote on that batch after we've kind of tested. Because my concern is if we go one at a time, I don't know if it's a pass fail for that person, right? As opposed to if we all kind of just make our notes.
Well, we can't make notes, right?
We can't make notes in terms of ranking what everyone's.
No, it needs to be transparent.
Right. Well, I'm not saying it's hidden. I'm saying that
If
we
it's,
do it
if
the
it's
same
by
way.
notes, you can't do that. You've got to make a motion and there's got to be a name and.
So let me be clear on the process, okay? Because in my head, it's clear, right? Because in my head, it is a form of discussion where what we're doing is we're putting down my top three, David's top three, whatever, and we're discussing that, but we're writing it down on a piece of paper that then Trista aggregates and reads the results out publicly. And then what we do is we take those ranked choices and make a motion to vote for those.
You can't do that.
Interesting. Interesting.
It has to be an open, transparent process.
Because we've
You
done
can
that.
talk about it.
We've
You
done
can
that
talk-
for years, and so I
Okay.
didn't know that there was anything that's changed that would preclude that from happening, other than we have the electronic voting.
And I'm sitting here and I don't know that I've been sitting here another time, but writing down who you want and then having them do it, you can't do it that way.
That's not the final part
Having
of
it read onto the record, each
Oh,
person's selection.
That's absolutely fine. If we read into the record what each person wants.
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's the part I missed. Okay, that's fine. Yes.
She reads it out, as
Well,
we have in years past.
Or we each say it out loud, as
Or-
opposed
or
to
we-
writing
we
notes.
say the ones that we don't want, and Trista just keeps score of it.
Sorry, I missed the part where Trista reads each one's
or
perspective
we
out
each
loud.
read it out
We
loud
each read
rather
it
than
out
writing
loud
it on,
and
We
on
can read
paper.
out our
Because
own.
they keep-
Yeah, no, I
because they
wasn't
keep
trying to obfuscate anything. I'm just trying to preserve the process that we've always had. But in this case, we just have the electronic vote instead of having the. Does that make sense? Did I clear that up as muddy as possible?
Mayor,
Well,
how would
we-
you prefer we do this?
We can try it that way and see how that works, certainly. I'm not opposed to that.
Do we start with Jim?
So you
So,
have to,
Let's
Are we picking, so we have three and an alternate, so,
right.
are we picking, so then my recommendation was we each pick four. And then based on how many notices, and then they're ranked, right?
Right.
Again,
Yeah,
they're
the
read
way,
out.
I don't.
And then we make a motion.
Yeah, so here's what I would suggest, if this is the way you want to try to do it. Each of you, I wouldn't do alternates, I wouldn't do four, because then you got to decide who's an alternate and who's not. I would start with
Well, the one who had the-
regular members.
Okay.
each of you choose three, and whoever gets 4 votes, or, 4 votes out of those 3, they would be elected. And if 5 people get 4 votes, then you're going to have to choose out of those 4 who gets to be the
So
3.
essentially what you're saying is what we've been doing for the last same period of time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of, we're not
Okay.
writing it down.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, yeah.
So how about we just start? Why don't we just go down the line? Start with David.
All right. For the regular members, I'm going to suggest that we reappoint, or that we appoint the 3 members that are returning as regular members. That would be Jillian Arispe. Did I pronounce that right? Matt Robertson and Lisa Sparkman as regular members. We're doing just the regular members first, right? And then we'll do the alternate.
Yeah, but,
members. Is that the
Lisa
idea?
Sparkman was not a regular member. She was
No,
an
but
alternate.
she would, my proposal is, she's been an alternate, is that.
Those are
she
the 3 that
becomes-
you're
that's-
stating.
Yeah, all you need to do
become
is
a
just
regular member.
Yeah,
articulate the 3 that
that's
you
fine.
are choosing.
Okay. Can you repeat that?
Jillian, Matt, and Lisa.
Yeah, the
Okay.
3 people that are already on the board, I propose to make them regular members going forward.
Okay.
I would recommend Matt, Jillian, and Sarah.
Matt, Lisa, Sarah.
Sarah, Jillian, and Lisa.
Matt, Jillian, and Lisa.
Matt, Jillian, and Sarah.
Matt, Sarah, and Jillian.
She's gonna read. She's got it. Is that everybody? Yeah, that's everybody.
So I have Matt with 6, Jillian with 6, Sarah with 5, Lisa with 4.
Yes, sir. So if you want to go with who got the most votes, the vote-
motion
yeah,
would be
the
for
motion
those
would be
three.
for the
That's
3
right.
people with the highest votes.
Yes.
So Doug, you read them out. You want a motion?
Move to appoint Matt, Jillian, and Sarah as regular members.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Charlie, that's the exact process that I inadequately articulated.
It worked
It
perfect.
worked in the end. We got it in the end. We got it in the end.
We always need Doug around to clean it up,
All right,
right? You know,
all right.
he cleans it up.
So
I
what's-
fine
so-
tune.
Yeah, there you go.
Fine tune. You guys got the great
So-
ideas. I just tweak it.
So alternative.
Wait a minute.
Wait,
You
we
wanna-
need we got a motion. Did we vote?
It's on your.
We already. Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Oh.
Not necessarily. I already voted.
It says yes over here.
You didn't say
According to
7 more
this, I
times.
voted 7 times.
Will you
This
say
is
no
like
and then
four
yes
all
again?
over again.
What did you do now, David?
It was messed up when I got here.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
All right, that batch is approved.
All right, and then we need to appoint the
So,
alternate.
Now we the alternate.
I suppose we go down the line.
Yes.
Would we do it the other way around?
Let's do it.
Start at one
Sure.
end, now we start at the other end.
Lisa,
Who was elected?
Wait, yeah, who?
Wait a minute.
This would be for
who
the
was
alternate.
elected?
Matt, Jillian, and Sarah.
Okay.
So Lisa and Elizabeth are left.
I'll motion.
well, let's go
No, no,
down.
we're going-
let's
we're
go
going-
down. We're going to
we're
go
going
backwards
forward.
for
Okay.
the
I mean, it's the
alternate.
same thing. Well,
Uh,
never mind. It's not.
same concept. So
Yes.
I'm going with Lisa.
Okay.
Elizabeth.
Lisa.
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 Elizabeth.
All right,
Okay.
that's 2 to 5.
All right.
So, Jim, you want to make that motion?
Motion to appoint Lisa Sparkman as our alternate.
Second.
There we go.
Motion and a second.
Okay.
Let me just say, this was an
That
embarrassment of
took an hour. I
riches.
hope
We
we have the
had,
next ones figured out.
we had great
Mr.
candidates.
Rogers, you
Mm-hmm.
gonna vote, sir? What?
I voted. I
Hit
voted
it again,
7
David.
times.
Early and often.
Yes.
Oh, Lord. It's going to be a long night.
8 hours.
It is gonna be long.
At this rate, 8 hours.
He's still thinking about the library.
Yeah, motion carried.
All right.
All right. For those of you that were reelected, congratulations. Elizabeth, I guess, if you want to hang around, there are other opportunities. And we'll proceed forward. Thank you very much. Our next group, and that took us an hour.
I don't think it'll take that long.
David asked too many questions.
Okay, planning and zoning, and I'm not gonna read the
Caesar's.
caption.
Uh-oh.
Caesar's got his questions.
All right, hold on, let me get organized here.
We got a hard stop at 8 o'clock. I thought this was only gonna be an hour-long meeting.
I thought it was gonna be 30 minutes.
I was betting an hour and a half. I was betting 90. So let's hurry it up.
All right, candidates for Planning and Zoning Commission. I have 3 applicants and we have 3 positions. That ought to be
Will
easy,
you
right?
entertain a motion?
Well, we should at least let these folks introduce themselves.
Jim, we talked about that.
Actually, Amanda,
We literally talked about it.
Amanda,
Does it preclude me from
Megdon,
making a
and
motion?
Nicholas Hudson are already on the Planning Commission. They're reapplying. The only new candidate is Alex Lupret. So maybe just have Alex come up and so we know who he is. Okay. The other 2 members are current members that are reapplying.
Never met
Amanda, I
either
have
one
that
of them.
same jacket, so I'm glad we didn't clash today.
Hi, Alex.
Hi, how you doing? Short introduction, my name's Alex. I've lived in Pflugerville for about 2.5 years. I want to be fully transparent. I had no idea I was going to be talking tonight. I maybe didn't do my due diligence. I didn't look, but I'm very interested in the position, so I'm here and I'm going to introduce myself, and you guys are open to asking me any questions. I moved here 2.5 years ago. I've watched Pflugerville change a lot in actually just 2.5 years. I think the main thesis of what got me interested in this committee is the idea that, like, I feel that Pflugerville is sort of uniquely positioned to grow in a really smart way based on, like, where we're at in our growth and basically where we're at in the history of our growth and basically where we're positioned sort of in the greater Austin area. There's a lot of open land. There's a lot of really smart cities that have, like, smaller populations than us that have developed in really smart ways. In my application, I mentioned Reston, Virginia.
I was
which
about
is,
to interrupt you.
Yeah, sure.
Because you walked right into it. So I'm seeing something specific in your action. You're saying the city needs to decide whether or not it's going to be a small city adjacent to Austin or a commuter-friendly suburb. Expand.
Yeah, no, so when I read the Aspire 2040 thing, that was one of the tenets you guys talked about, like city identity. So I actually made that point after I read that, and I think that's something that's really interesting. I feel like Pflugerville does have a bit of an identity as a small city, but I think we're on the path, I guess, or you guys have made the decision, I guess, as a collective to find an identity for the city, which I think is very interesting. And that's something I want to sort of be involved in. And full transparency, like I'm a lifelong learner. I've been very fortunate to pursue things I've been interested in. I've been interested in city planning. I've been interested in civics. I am not a professional in any way, shape, or form. I'm really, if I were to get on the board, I just wanted to spend the first 6 months or so just learning, just listening, just seeing what happens on this end, because I watch the live streams. I'm like one of the 5 people that watch it. I watch it all the time.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, you've made actually great points. I actually wanted to talk to you because you talked about bringing community college into Austin, or into Pflugerville rather. And I've learned a lot just by watching that. And I just kind of want to learn. I want to know what's on the other side, because I see the shiny presentations of the Pecan District and all these things that are going on, and I'm interested in that, but I don't know what goes on in, like, making the fiscal decision and what drives that. So, yes, that was.
So let me ask you, in your opinion, what is it the planning and zoning does?
In my opinion, that's a good question. I'm here to learn what it does. I mean, my understanding is that developers and people, talk about. So this is what I've learned. is that the process is there's zoning, people plat it out, it's zoned either agricultural or single family or whatever, and it feels like Pflugerville's in a big process of changing a lot of agricultural zoning into single family or PUD. And I guess we're just entertaining sort of the process of like what developers are bringing to the table, if it makes sense fiscally. I've been watching the City Hall project and how that's developed. But again, to your point, I mean, I'm a full of transparency. I'm here to learn. I'm here to listen, and that would be my role.
So, Alex, let me just comment, because I know, I mean, I welcome any new soul that wants to give of their time
Sure.
to the city. I've been doing it for 16 years or longer. And the Planning and Zoning Commission, at least vis-a-vis the city council, is one of the first bridges that a lot of development crosses, whether it's commercial or neighborhood or whatever it may be, and has a very critical input on what Pflugerville will look like. Granted, a lot of decisions that planning and zoning do come before the city council. Sometimes we reverse decisions that the planning and zoning commission make for a number of reasons. Given what you're saying, my gut feeling is that you're not ready for this position. Okay.
Fair enough.
I think, I appreciate you wanting to learn.
Yeah.
I only have one vote, so that's just my comment, but I do appreciate you coming forward.
So what about Pflugerville PF 101? Have you heard of that?
Yes, I tried to apply this year and I didn't get it. It was filled up before I had a chance to, but I learned about it actually watching one of the live streams, and I tried to apply, I guess a while ago, and yeah, I couldn't get in. But I do know it exists.
People watch the live streams, right?
They do, absolutely. I got just a couple of questions for you. In your application, you mentioned being the best small city, and I think you mentioned small a few times. Can you define what you believe is a small city? What makes a city small?
I mean, I guess population-wise, maybe it's an arbitrary measure, I guess. I would say.
No, and in your opinion, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I just think Pflugerville, so community-driven. I think the fact that Pflugerville is a community, like people know each other, like lots of people apply for boards and they reapply, like that feels like a small city to me, where we're coming together as a community, making choices, as opposed to larger cities where there's a bit of anonymity to what's going on in the process. Yeah. Again, just my metrics.
You also mentioned a small town with a funny name, right?
Yeah.
As kind of a, is that who we are? What does that mean to you? Do you think we should be a small town with a funny name? Should we be more than that? What should we be?
It's a great identity. I think Pflugerville, again, I think we're just so uniquely positioned to like grow in a smart way. And I don't know if grow is a dirty word here or not. I don't want to cross any boundaries, but like, again, I just think like there's so much land and there's so many smart ways to grow, and we have that ability because there are cities that are on the East Coast or even in Texas that have old infrastructure that we have to revitalize, whereas we have a lot of land where we can plan it more, smart, for I guess lack of better words. So I think that is what's driving my application.
Okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
First of all, what brought you to Pflugerville?
I was going to address that. I feel like I arrived in Pflugerville. I moved here when everyone else moved here 2 years ago. It's the first town I bought a home in. My wife lives here. We live here. My son lives here. We just had a kid. Sorry, can you repeat the question? I feel like
I was just asking what brought you to Pflugerville.
Work. I've lived in Austin on and off, the Austin area for about 10 or 12 years. I went to school here. I left, and then I came back, and I took a job. I work at GSD&M downtown. I've been there for years. I work in film and TV production a little bit, but mostly commercials, since that's the market here. And that's just where I've built a home. I guess it's just, I'm sorry not to ramble, but I like the feeling of a small town adjacent to a big city.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Aspire 2040. Where do you see our city in the next 5 years? What would you like to see?
Well, I think it's
interesting.
What
does it feel like?
What should it feel like? I feel like it should feel like a small city adjacent to a big, a small city adjacent to a big city, which is what it already is. I just want to see it flourish, I guess. I mean, I feel like someone mentioned in one of the live streams that it's sort of like Mansfield. which I'm from DFW. I know what Mansfield is. I've been there. I've watched Mansfield grow. But I think I want what anyone wants. I think they want infrastructure. I think they want the roads repaved, which is what was happening over in my neighborhood. I think we want just like what when I was talking about what makes us identity, like people don't come to Pflugerville to hang out. We live here and we go into Austin, but like I want people to want to come to Pflugerville. Like, what are fun things? I mean, we have a brewery that's coming in. We have lots of things happening. I'm just interested in your process. But, again,
Absolutely. Thank you.
So, a couple things come to mind just listening to you, and this is I was made a comment to Councilman McDonald. Like, this is why we have people. This is why we have that discussion.
Yeah.
This is a great example of why we have discussion, because it's it's one thing to have something on paper, and it's another thing to actually hear people articulate, be able to express different various viewpoints.
Sure.
So you're at GSD.
Yeah.
I'm at Graves Doherty. So
You're at where?
Graves Doherty. So I'm down.
Okay.
I'm down the street. You've been on 6th Street. That's
Yeah.
been for a long period of time. What I found interesting was a couple things when you talked about the anonymity that comes with a larger city when it
Yeah.
comes to the board selection. That is definitely not the case. With the downtown commission, some other things over here in Austin. That's just never been the case with that.
Yeah.
What usually happens in like cities like Austin happen here too as well. People who have interest or vested interest or intrigue, they tend to participate and reach out to either a board, commission, city manager, city staff, mayor, or something like that, and then they start to get integrated. You said you went to school. So you went to University of Texas?
Yeah.
Fine institution.
Yeah.
People always talk about how it's 50,000 people. It's really large, but as you know very well, it gets very small very quickly once you're jumped in. That's why you see what you've seen here in Pflugerville.
Yeah.
The reason why we know Matt Roberts is because Matt has literally been involved in so many different things, so many different aspects, a variety of different period of time. We all know, are cognizant of them. Even people I'm looking out in the crowd right now, we've known these people from there because they've reached out for these things.
Sure.
I took what you said in your paper, and that's why I was intrigued to hear you expand further on it, as a critique of Pflugerville as being some small town, let's say not as open-minded as life in there. But what you said in response to Councilmember Holiday was that, in fact, that you like the fact that it's a small town next to a large city.
Yeah.
Right there. It's the second largest city, or second biggest city in Travis County, and there's only two things. You've seen our council. I know you've said you've been here for 2 years, but we've said over and over again, when it comes to growth, you either shape it or it's going to shape you.
Right.
And we've embraced the fact that this city's going to grow. The city's going to continue to grow.
Absolutely.
It's gone stratospherically in its growth for in a long period, a 20-year period or so, right there as well, which we don't see signs doing, even during the pandemic. This is one of 3 cities in the central Texas that continue to grow. So people are going to be there, just like you said, because right next to Austin, right next to Hub from there as well.
Yep.
With that said, it sounds to me, I mean, particularly given your energy and your intelligence right there as well, that what we need to do is try to see where we can plug you into something where you can learn more about the city and its aspects there. You ask a very good question. I'm glad you were very blunt in your question about whether or not we're a growing suburb or a small city. That's okay. I'm intrigued to hear more about that.
Yeah.
But on this board, at least to me, knowing the people that have been on this board, and just like the mayor said, this is the first bridge, the first branch, that comes when it comes to development. It's really important for people to be cognizant and aware of where the city has been, where it is, and vision of staff or council going forward with that, because that helps shape when you're working with staff onto what projects we want right here. We're at a point now in Pflugerville where we don't have to accept everything,
Right.
and that's a big change
It's a great
that's
place to
happened
be.
over there. And
Yeah.
that's happened honestly because of folks on this council for a long period that have done a really good job looking forward for that.
Yeah.
So, it sounds like to me that if we can plug you into something, I know you met PF 101. It's like the second or third person today to say they missed and they want to be in PF 101. So maybe we need to do more classes. I don't know.
We talked about
Yeah. Where we can plug you in for something like that. But I love the rapport, I love the back and forth, and I
Sure.
love the candid answers.
Yeah.
That's
I'm eager to learn. I realize maybe this is just a face-to-face introduction. Maybe I'm not ready for it yet, like you said. Fair enough. I'm interested in learning municipal politics, and this is the place to do it. I feel this is the place I live, and it feels like a community. It feels like the right place to get my foot in. So, yeah.
You use the word smart city and smart development repeatedly in your
Yeah.
application. What does that mean to you?
I don't mean smart in like Internet of Things smart. Like there's the development over that's next to the water park over there. I forgot the name of it, and it's sort of billed as like a smart city. I just mean smart design, smart like infrastructure, like how, if we were in a larger city and all the roads are laid out and not a grid, like in a, it's like it's hard to develop it, but we have so much available land. It's like we can sort of define the path, like you said, to what we want because the land's there for us. I understand it's an agricultural city. I'm sure it's trying to hold on to that. I don't want to push us in a direction we don't want to go. But yeah, I just think again, I think we're just uniquely positioned in the history of our development to like make a lot of good choices that my kids will benefit from 20, 30 years down the road. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions?
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was gonna have the other two come up since you hadn't met them, but.
I have met them both.
Oh, you have? Okay, well then. Right. Okay. Well, let me just say this, for, the other two candidates, Amanda and Nicholas, if you'd like to come up and say something, you may have the podium. If not, that's okay.
Maybe you want to explain to us how you didn't destroy P&Z while you've been on there.
I have not destroyed PNC. In fact, no.
Oh, they're doing a great job.
I rose to your bait. No, I have not destroyed PNZ, and I don't plan to destroy it in the next 2 years. Thank you.
Great jacket.
Yeah.
Is Nicholas still here?
Yeah, he's back there.
Well, you're assuming. I heard you say. You said, "Great to have you."
This will be your
How
final
have
term,
you destroyed
Nicholas?
P&Z?
Sorry?
Will this be your final term?
Yeah, it would be my third.
Okay. If yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Did he serve with you?
Yeah.
Yep.
So
first
you've
year.
been on there a while, haven't
Yep.
Okay.
What's the biggest change you've seen in P&Z in your time on the board?
I think I've seen. It feels like we get more applications that are looking to do kind of more dense development, and I mean that's understandable. I mean land prices I think have gone through the roof since when I started in I guess 2020 was the first year I was on there. So that's probably driven as many of the changes as anything else. You know, we're seeing even the PUDs as well, a lot of smaller lots and trying to get, you know, the single family experience, but, you know, more units in a certain area, which I think is not necessarily a bad thing, but especially because you have to keep the overall housing costs down, and the land is a big part of that. And the more units you get in there, the better the profit margins are. So I don't blame developers for doing that, but I think since P&Z is kind of the first kind of gate that they go through before it comes to council, I think it is our responsibility to do more to try and make sure that that trend doesn't get into an area where it's not beneficial, where, you know, we're losing more of maybe kind of the feel that we have with our existing neighborhoods, with what the new developments are bringing, so that we're not kind of, I don't want to say diluting maybe, some of the quality of life that I think people come to enjoy living here.
You bring up a good point, and sorry, Amanda, I probably should have asked you that without just going on from there. But you brought up the fact about the multifamily development and what's occurring from there, and you're also talking about the affordability factor, which Pflugerville is no longer that area where we can say is an affordable city as we used to. Affordable is a very relative term. If you can buy a house for $400,000, that's affordable. But who can buy a house for $400,000?
Right.
So along those lines, and what you're seeing on the board, are you saying that we should be more judicious at how we look at those multifamily developments, while at the same time having to balance the fact that affordability is a real issue? But as our esteemed city manager brought up, if you're renting a 2-1 for $2,600 a month, how affordable is affordable?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's more that can be done with density that doesn't necessarily sacrifice as much of the quality of life side. And so I've seen more of that come in with the PUDs than I have with straight zoning. And so I'd like to see kind of more developments like that, it's not just here's, you know, because we have some of these developers that are obviously national brands that come in and just say, here's what we do everywhere, you know, can we make it work here and make money, and okay, let's just do it. I'd much rather see somebody who wants to come in and say, okay, here's what Pflugerville is about, here's what this land is, here's what's around it, how can we make it work? And, you know, if that means kind of being a little flexible with zoning rules and getting into a PUD and working with the planning department to see, you know, what do you guys really want here? Those developments, I think, seem to be more preferable to me. The ones where they come in and the ones that are on the opposite end of the scale, I'd say, are the ones where they come in and ask for zoning exceptions to say, oh, I don't want to build that many trees, or we had one where they say, I don't want to put a 2-car garage, I just want to do a 1-car garage, and stuff like that. That really, in those cases, I think we should have a really high bar and say, you got to prove, you know, if you want an exception, not just why it makes it more affordable. That's not bad, but unless you're bringing something else to the table, I don't think we should be passing those.
Well said.
Let me ask you this, and I think you kind of alluded to it already, but how do you prefer that developers approach zoning? Do you prefer base zoning, or do you prefer and conforming to base zoning, or do you prefer they come with a PUD?
I think the PUD is probably preferred for larger developments, and I think just with the economies of scale that come with that, you're probably going to end up with a product where you can offer more services. You can kind of get more of the amenities. I think having the green space that's kind of integrated in. I mean, I know we do a really good job at trails and parks, so being able to have something there that's not just, oh, how do I fill up this last little bit to get my parks, you know, requirement, but how do I really make it a cohesive development where we have, you know, maybe retail, maybe offices. I mean, that's something I'd really like to see more of is you know, kind of corporate type offices and bigger employment centers here in Pflugerville. So I tend to lean to more PUD, especially if it's a larger area.
All right.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much. Nicholas. So council, just for the record, we don't have to fill all 3 spots, so.
Motion, what is the
Amanda,
what's the other people? Nicholas and
Amanda.
I would make a motion to reappoint Amanda and Nicholas to the board.
Second. Have a motion and a second to reappoint the current sitting planning and zoning members.
You got my vote this time?
Okay, motion carried, thank you. Keep up the good work.
And Alex, I hope to see you here next year. I hope you learn a little more. I really appreciate the passion that you brought.
Yeah.
And absolutely hope that that you're ready for it and don't be disheartened. Thank you.
To keep in contact with us, because we have multiple boards that I think will help you learn more about what's going on. So absolutely.
I was just gonna tell you, Alex, just sit here. Just let's see what happens.
All right, our next,
There's always, you know where a guy with marketing expertise would be a big benefit?
A law
where
firm.
we don't have enough applicants? Deutschenfest.
Maybe.
that's
That
still
committee
being
could
considered.
really use that guy.
Let's get there.
All right.
All right.
Moving on to Parks and Recreation. We have a number of applicants. As a matter of fact, I think we have one more applicant than we have openings. And when you come up, please, as I call you, well, it looks like I can see that here. If you're a current member, just kind of reiterate that. You don't have to, but Stanley Taylor, is he here? Hey, neighbor.
Guten Abend, Herr Doctor.
So I met the mayor for the first time at Slice of Pflugerville, and I told him, I think you live across the greenbelt from me. Shh, shh. And his response was, oh, you're the house with the dogs. So that was an auspicious.
The dog was in the yard. It was okay.
So, all right, yes, I just served the 1-year term. I feel like I'm getting my feet on the ground with the board and would love to return.
Okay.
Any questions?
Questions?
Yeah, actually, I think we can go there. You're not getting out that easy.
Okay.
Come on.
You tried.
What are some of the challenges you've seen so far in your first year, and what would you like to do if reappointed to alleviate those challenges?
So in my first year, I was going to say keep my mouth shut, but that's not true. I've asked lots of questions, but not made a lot of statements yet, because I don't feel like I have my feet on the ground yet. I'm getting confident now that I can start guiding things more. But I think the longer term planning that we've been involved in is the most important thing we've done as a board. And I've really enjoyed that and learning about how the streets planning fits with the parks planning. And of course, we have new developers coming in, and they have to meet our parks laws for all of that. And that's the big challenge. I think we're meeting it so far, and I just would like to continue with that.
Okay. How do you feel about the overabundance of soccer fields on Pflugerville?
I
Don't answer that loaded question.
Yeah.
Don't answer that loaded question. Objection.
I do not have an
Form.
opinion.
No, I'm joking.
A well-balanced assortment of sports fields, right?
Yeah, there we go.
What's an example that you've brought of leadership and working in teamwork capacity on that board?
Well, like I said, so far I don't think I have very much in a leadership capacity. I've been trying to learn. I'm a big believer in not making decisions until you feel like you've learned the lay of the land. And I'm eager, since it's only been a 1-year term, to continue.
Well, then let me ask you a corollary to that. So if that's the case, what do you see that you'd like to go ahead and do? You said that you took a lot of time to be quiet and observe.
Well,
so
I
what is
wasn't
it?
quiet. I wasn't quiet. I asked lots of questions. But yes. In fact, more questions than some of my fellow commissioners appreciated, I think. I think
Honest.
the longer term stuff that we're involved in is where I see myself really gaining interest and those are the questions that I asked. Again, it's the interdependencies between the various responsibilities of the city government.
Still broad. What specifically?
So I'm going to get myself in trouble here.
No, it sounds like you always have an opinion. So I'm intrigued.
So the one thing that I've learned that really struck me is that city government is small c conservative, not politically conservative.
Yeah.
The first question that comes up whenever something new comes up is, what have other cities our size done when they were in this position? And that's great. That's a great question to ask. It's great to follow the model of other cities, but I wonder if it doesn't allow as much. And you know, I don't want elected officials take risks anytime they do something different that nobody else has done, which leads to being conservative, right? So I get that. I'm just wondering where the room is to branch out and try other things that haven't been tried before. And I don't have any answer to that question yet.
Interesting.
The biggest long-term project in parks that the city is engaged in has been the expansion of our trail system, which began before Jim or I moved to town. I think the mayor started it when he was 6.
8.
Oh, 8. Sorry. So sometime in the, speaking of conservative, Eisenhower administration, we started building a huge interconnected trail, and now we're the trail capital of Texas. What are the other long-term projects besides connecting all of the various parks in the city with trails? What else do you see as the long-term parks project for the city?
So, I mean, when you're a young city or a city with a lot of young families, then you focus on things like parks, literal parks, playgrounds and sports fields. And then as you mature, you begin to look at what other facilities are necessary. And the things I wasn't very aware of was all the programming the Parks Department have, including things like senior programming. So I think I would like to understand how we serve people, not just with properties, but with programs, and make sure we're meeting the needs of the city as the demographics change.
Now, by programs, you're talking about the programs, not just things like Slice of Pflugerville where you met the mayor, but you mean programs like the ongoing senior programs and the field trips that Parks and Rec put on, those sort of things. Okay.
So I have a question, Stanley. And again, there's not a right or wrong answer here. It's just your perception and your feeling about where, as you say, where the city's going. So we're on the threshold of developing a new recreational center, multi-generational center. And when we talk multi-generational, we're talking about kiddos to senior citizens and so forth. And you know, traditionally with a lot of the younger folks, it's pretty standard basketball and all the other things that kids do. But as we get into that older generational group, do you have any perception of where, and again, I'm no right or wrong answer here, is where do you think we ought to go with that?
So I'm going to admit to being a traitor here. I swim laps at Clay Madsen Rec Center in Roundel.
Et tu, Brute.
I used to swim at Gilliland.
They have a good swimming pool. Come on.
Yeah, we do. I love Gilliland. And I see a lot of the programs they have there, and in the pool. I don't see much of the rest. But they have. It surprised me when I got there that well under 50% of the people who swim in that pool swim laps, which is what I do and what I thought most swimmers did. There's people in there, and especially when you talk about people of beyond middle age,
Right.
who are doing all kinds of things. They have a huge swim aerobics class that has all kinds of people. I try to avoid going when they're there because they take up most of the pool, but I have a few times. And then they have people who are doing, I don't know, aqua jogging, and people who are swimming underwater. It's amazing to see what the diversity of usage is of the facility, and you need to. I wouldn't have known that until I wouldn't have imagined that until I experienced it. So you have to understand what the needs are and see if you can address those programs. And most of those are not programs. They do have the classes. They're just what individuals do. But that's a good example of the diversity.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Any other questions?
And I'm looking forward to us having our own indoor pool. I can't wait.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
We'll get you the Cowboys fit.
Yeah.
There's only 3 lanes.
It's too cold in there.
Is our pool heated still or not? Okay. Melissa Call. And by the way, Stanley did attend PF 101 for the record. Melissa, tell us about you.
Hi, Mayor Gonzalez and City Manager Breland, City Council, and in no particular order, Santa's 1 and Santa's 2. Appreciate y'all being here. So my name is Melissa Call. Most of you know me as being on the entertainment committee for Deutschenfest for a number of years. And I'm also president of the Pflugerville Arts Council, which is a 501c3 that I founded with another friend of mine, Steve Gore, a number of years ago. Over the past 7 years, we produced over 35 concerts, classical and otherwise, at the First United Methodist Church in downtown Pflugerville. And we have put on 4 art shows, one of which is going to start at the library, one which is going to start on January 9th. We have 5 artists, 1 photographer, and 4 other artists, and have been very successful in that. I'm very intrigued by the library board as well, because of the art that comes in. I am a long-term resident. I say long-term in comparison to some of you, maybe not so long, but over 34 years, and I am a registered voter. I worked for the Pflugerville Chamber of Commerce for 10 years under the supervision of Patricia Gervin Brown and Chantel Mays, who now has moved on to the Georgetown Chamber, as you well know. I'm very interested in the development of downtown east to see what comes out of the recreation center, hoping for a perhaps convention center, small event center with a stage so that we can continue to do some performances on the stage. And I'm kind of a connector. Because of my 10 years at the chamber, I know a lot of old guard in town, and I know a lot of new businesses in town, and I'm a connector, just like the trails. I'm totally intrigued by the trails that we have in this city. I don't know anything like that. I grew up in Lubbock, and Lubbock is very well, there's a lot of things to fill that out with. So Lubbock is platted. Streets going north and south are universities. Streets going east and west are numerical. And so it's very structured. So imagine my shock in moving to Austin when one street became another street. I was totally confused. But the main thing I remember as a child is we lived right next door to a park. Now that park, it was only about 5 blocks square. It was called Candyland. And it was called Candyland, and they had the structure that named it. And in my childlike mind, I thought I had died and gone to heaven every single weekend that we got to go to Candyland. It was just a walk away. And that was where families went. Because you would go to the parks, and that's where families gathered, and that's where you got to know people, and you got to find your new friends and buddies. So I'm totally intrigued again with the Pflugerville Parks and Rec Department. I have worked with Shane for a number of years and can count him as a very good friend. On the Deutschenfest committee this last year, since there were some change-ups at the last minute, I got to work with Jonathan and Bays and Gabby and was thoroughly impressed with their professionalism and the way that they handled things that came up on a day-to-day basis. And so that's something that I would like to step up my game a little bit and get onto the board of the Parks and Rec, and so I can see the broader picture of things, not just focus just on Deutschenfest. And yeah, so I think the differences between what I would call a warm city and a cold city are the people in the parks. Because we're so coming out of the pandemic, and when we were in the pandemic, we got so used to hovering around our devices and being singly noted. Getting out to the parks, and I just think the Parks and Rec Department of the city has done an incredible job at putting us on the map as a park place. So I would like to be able to put my 2 cents in that.
Very good. Questions?
What kind of 2 cents would you like to put in?
It's worth a lot more than 2
I mean,
cents.
you haven't attended a meeting, I see, and you're a part of
That is
everything. So
true.
I know you well enough to know you know everything that's going on in this town. What brings you to Parks and Rec? I mean, you talked about your past. What would you like to see going forward with your input?
So, in the Deutschenfest committee, this is my opinion only, there's not a great ability to make much of an authoritative decision. Suggestions are highly regarded, and we bring a lot of suggestions to the table, but decision-making is not so much the case, and I would like to be able to do that on the board. Does that answer your question
Absolutely.
fairly? Okay, good enough.
Yeah. It's like we can't ask you anything because
I've
you know
earned-
everything about the
I've
city.
earned my stripes on Deutschenfest.
You've done so much.
I don't know everything about the city, and I'd like to. I've lived north of Bro Lane since 1995. No Walmart, no Costco. We all know what that felt like, and I've seen the development grow so fast that's exciting. I see Pflugerville becoming, and maybe this is a question that you guys were going to ask, but I see the identity of Pflugerville becoming more of an art, music, highly creative. Because when you walk down, as a matter of fact, one of the artists that I'm producing in January is, I think they go by the Artist Couple, and they've been painting underneath the trails. And so they're going to be in our art. And we are going to attach augmented reality to a lot of those art pieces so that when you hold up your phone to their art pieces, the reels start playing. And so if we can have that out in the city, if along the trails, if you're walking up to a stand, at First United Methodist Church, that trail goes right behind the church. And if you had just a QR code there that stop and say what's going on in the city, and you could change it every week and just let people stop for a second while they're walking, so it keeps them outside, keeps them on the trails. It's something I'd like to be interested in.
And QR codes are so simple, right?
They're so simple, I can make them on my phone.
Mr. Rogers? Oh, you didn't have a question? Okay.
No, sir.
All right, thank you very much, Melissa. Appreciate
No questions?
We know you too well.
You've told us everything.
Looking forward.
All right, Ray Trevino, best dressed man in the house. All right.
Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you for having me. I'm a PF 101 graduate, and the reason I did that was because I came here last year, tried to get on the board, and I was not able to get on PF 101, but I graduated in January, or went through the whole process that we did. But this is my second time around here in Pflugerville. I moved here in Pflugerville back in 1984 and left in 2004.
I'm sorry, 1984?
1984,
That's
when
when
there
the
was probably
population was-
685 people here.
No, how many?
Yeah, 685.
There we go.
Yep. And I bought a house in Gatlinburg, which was a brand new subdivision on the edge of town, way on the other side of town. But since then, I stayed here, moved to Willow Creek, moved out in 2004, had an opportunity to go work at the Pentagon. So I went out there to the Pentagon, did that, and then went to Afghanistan as a defense contractor. But at the same time, I always wanted to come back to Pflugerville. You know, I moved to Austin after I went to Afghanistan, but I always wanted to come back. I had 3 boys that I raised here, and they went through the process. And at the time, there wasn't much here. We didn't have a swimming pool. We didn't have very few trails. We didn't have a lot. The rec center was just about brand new. They just opened up in the, late 90s, I believe it was. But the kids had to go find something to do. And that's always been something that I've always wanted to be part of, is the parks. We have great parks now. I can see that in all the neighborhoods, and it's just a matter of trying to be part of it. I'm on the outside looking in. I want to be the inside looking out. You know, I want to be part of that process. I have a 10-year-old, by the way, that uses the parks, and I use the trails all the time. I run. I'm a runner, and we have a running program that we meet in Lake Pflugerville 5 times in the spring, 5 times in the fall. So we use the parks. We use Lake Pflugerville. So it's a great thing, and it's great to be part of this. And I can see the growth. I mean, it's great. And I think the parks and rec are part of the quality of life of Pflugerville. That's a big quality of life that I see here, and I just want to be part of it.
So Ray, one of the things that, and you alluded to it too as well, that I was wondering about is that you've done an excellent job. I've been out to your program, you know, of the kids running from up there as well. At the same time, when it comes to a position like this, one, you have to be agnostic to your own programs that you support, and then 2, ultimately look at the fruition, the utilization of facilities and other information for that as well. Oftentimes, we may have people either who want to be on a board or run for a seat on one issue alone. I want to make sure on the record, one, you're not running on here specifically to be able to have more space for healthy kids in their program. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Secondly, along those lines, and you're right, you're an excellent example of someone who went back and said, hey, listen, you asked about PF 101, learning more about that, learning about the community, what from there. What's the thing that you see that we're lacking now that can make a demonstrative difference in our parks plan? I mean, I'll be frank, I'm pretty high on our parks director and what we're doing right there. I had not thought about it until Stanley brought up his viewpoint on things. That was interesting. I didn't think we think out of the box, but I mean, what's great about having these conversations is you get to hear from everybody. So you get to have a different viewpoint and hear those things. But what do you see that we can either a delta point or something that demonstrably missing to make a discernible difference in the future?
Well, at this point, I don't see there's a lot missing. It's just an improvement, getting better, getting bigger. I mean, Pflugerville's going to grow. We got more people coming in, so we got to make sure that we have the facilities for everybody, not just a few. You know, playgrounds are a big thing. You go to some of these parks, and there's nothing for the kids to play on. It's a green space, which is wonderful. But I think the playgrounds, and I've seen the master plan, and I know the playgrounds are being accounted for. They're going to be put in. But at the same time, that is something we have to take into account. And the Parks and Rec is a great organization. My kid uses it. He goes to the camps. I can't say anything bad about that. I can't say that we need improvement there. The summer camp is wonderful. The spring camp, he just went to a trip to the State History Museum at UT this past Saturday. So, I mean, it's great that it's just a matter of being part of it so we can make it better. It's not, I don't see too many deficiencies. You know, I've worked with Shane, and he's a great director. He's got a great staff, and I just see that being part of it that's a winning team, and I want to be on the winning team.
Ray, do you play pickleball?
Not yet. That's that might be on my bucket list when I get older. I'm only going to be 70 here, so I don't know if I'm ready for that. But I know a lot of people do. And I lived in Marco Island, Florida, for 5 years back in the mid 2015 to 2020, about that range. And pickleball was huge over there. They had the national championships there in Marco Island and Naples. Big. I never heard of it. I went to it. I'm like, man. And I come here and I know they have it there at the gym at the rec center, and that's just something for the seniors to be part of. It's open to everybody, but I see more seniors doing it.
Cool.
You know, yeah.
All right.
And I'm looking forward to the city hall and the rec center that's being built. That's going to be amazing, not only for, I mean, it's, whether it's for the 2-year-olds all the way up to the 80-year-olds, 90-year-olds. It's great that everybody's included.
Absolutely. All right, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Lucas Martin. He might have been one of the individuals that could not be present.
It's gonna be on Tuesday.
Okay. Elise Tatum.
Were you in Pflugerville in 1983 too?
No. I was in nowhere in 1983.
I was about to say, were you on the planet in 1983?
I was born in 1985.
Birthdays are not required.
Nor the man in the Santa hat.
Hello, my name is Elise Tatum. My husband and I, we moved to the Austin area in 2013 to Round Rock, and we moved to Pflugerville in 2017, in August of 2017, and we've been here ever since, and we don't have any plans on leaving. We love it here, specifically the trails. I'll talk about that later, but I really love the trails here. We both do. When it's not too hot, we go biking or at least just walking down them. What else? I have a lot. I'm nervous. I didn't know I had to talk today.
Why do you want to be on Parks and Recreation?
I want to be part of Parks and Recreation because I want to help further the development of the Parks and Recreation department. I was in PF 101 class with Ray and with Sarah, and I was amazed every class. I came home like I was a kid getting out of school every day. It was like, this is what we learned today, this is what we learned today. And when we went to the Parks and Recreation office, I was the most excited. And they gave us cool t-shirts. We got to pick whichever t-shirt we wanted out of the gift shop. But I want to help expand everything. I love the fact that we're part of Tree City USA, and I don't want to see that go away from overdevelopment pretty much. So I want to help, though I do want the city to grow and expand as much as it possibly can without losing that comfortable feel, that warm feel that we have here. I do want to also protect that nature part as well that makes it feel so welcoming to me. I really love how it's an even blend of city life and being in nature. Like one end of our street, well, it used to be an open field. They're building an apartment complex there now. The other end of our street is Gilliland Creek and the trail. So you have your neighborhood with all of your neighbors. You have that quiet sense of relationship with everyone there. Then you can go right down the street and be in nature if you need to do that to get away. But then right down the street from there is Austin. So if you want the big city feel, you can go there as well. But I really like that about Pflugerville, and I want to help as much as I can from the Parks and Commission to help it stay that way.
So Elise, after your graduation or during your experience of PF 101, what impact did that experience have for you, and did that lead you to think differently about Pflugerville?
It had a huge impact on me. I still talk about it pretty much every day. Whenever I'm speaking to anyone about Pflugerville, I somehow bring up PF 101 class at some point in time in the conversation, telling them about things that I've learned. For my professional field, I'm an OSP engineer, so I design the coax and fiber layout for telecommunication companies. And so when we went to the planning and zoning part in PF 101, I was like, this is finally something I know about. This is the stuff that I do every day. And so I was able to relate that to other people, like explain it better to them because I knew how to put it more in layman terms, kind of. But I do that a lot, not putting stuff in layman terms, but being able to explain to people what's going on in the city and help them find out about events and all of that kind of stuff. I love bringing people to Pflugerville because of that, from the things that I learned in PF 101 and telling them things that they didn't know either existed, like programs and everything. One thing with Parks and Recreation, they do have a lot of programs like for seniors, for youth, for families. They have fitness, but I feel like it's missing out on just events for adults. Like my husband and I, we don't have children. It's just us and our dog, and there's not as many opportunities for us to go to events because they're just not there. So that's what I would really like to help build and expand.
Well, let me ask about that. You said that you'd like to see more outdoor activities. Is that what you were referring to for adults, or just in general, or and what kind of activities would you like to see?
Both adults and in general. We have helped like do park cleanups and that kind of stuff with the community here. We helped remulch the big pecan tree. That was really nice. So those are more even kind of like just community service things, but it was outdoor activities where we got to walk around the parks, jump across the creeks, all that kind of stuff, trying to clean up. And I would like to help bring something that would make a kind of event where you can just explore the parks and the nature trails, just to see what there is out there. Maybe have some kind of scavenger hunt. I think a scavenger hunt already exists, but something like
Wait,
a scavenger
people
hunt.
use maps?
On their phones.
On the phones.
They scan the
Pokemon.
whatever.
QR codes or whatever it is. Yeah.
There's an
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to help bring more outdoor activities. There's a lot of outdoors to have activities here, but not as many activities outdoors.
Got it. Interesting. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Oh, no, thank you.
Jennifer Bridges. Another person.
Yeah, she let us know she would
Couldn't
not
be
be
here.
able to attend.
Okay.
I believe Jennifer notified us in advance. She's been on the
And
commission
she's
for,
been on the,
for a while.
yeah.
And I guess Lucas was not here.
Lucas and
correct.
Jennifer.
I would say I was very impressed with Lucas's application for the Finance and Budget Committee. I think he applied for that one as well.
Is he, what did we require? Financially, a financial expert, is that correct?
No, what is
Well,
it?
you said
What-
not.
Well, he's
Experience.
Experience.
Yeah.
expert.
He
Experience.
served with the governor of Nebraska as the Legislative Research Council as a fiscal and program analyst,
Okay.
and also the other stuff.
We're,
Yeah,
we're jumping ahead.
yeah, we are.
Yeah,
Let's,
okay.
let's focus, guys.
All right, let's move on. We have the candidates. Actually, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candidates that have, well, 4 that were in person, and Jennifer Bridges, who is currently or previously on the board. Lucas unfortunately couldn't be here today, so
Mayor, would you enter? Well,
we got to
Do we
vote
wanna-
for
Yeah,
four
well,
regular.
okay, but
Let's rank them.
Same way we did last time.
because I already.
So the 4 regulars, I'm gonna propose,
Since they weren't here, I already scratched them out.
Stanley, Jennifer, Ray, and Elise. That's Taylor, Bridges, Trevino, and Tatum.
That's more than 4.
What?
You
four
said
regulars.
everybody's first name and then you said everybody's
Yeah,
last
that
name.
was
Just
everybody.
the same
So-
4.
Right,
Yeah.
but it,
You didn't.
How about you say it again? How about
What?
for our sake?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're each going to pick 4 again.
Yeah. So say it again.
just,
Stanley Taylor, Jennifer Bridges, Ray Trevino, and Elise Tatum. Those are my pick for 4.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I have to pick one.
Stanley Taylor, Melissa Call, Ray Trevino, and Jennifer Bridges.
Stanley, Melissa, Ray, Elise. Stanley, Melissa, Ray, Elise.
Stanley, Melissa, Ray, and Jennifer.
Jennifer, Stanley, Lucas, and Elise.
Stanley, Melissa, Ray, and Elise.
Stanley, Ray, Alyssa, Elise, and Jennifer.
It is Elise. I'm sorry, I called you Alyssa.
I almost did as well. What is that? That is 7, 4.
Did you say
5?
Did you,
Well, those are the regular.
yeah, I'm just making sure. Okay, just
5,
I thought he said 5.
5, 1,
always
5,
have to
10,
fill.
15.
I know. We know.
Yeah, that's it. That makes it difficult.
Doug, you have.
Well,
the-
no, actually it doesn't. Hold on. So I've got Stanley with 7, we got Ray with 5, Elise with 5, Jennifer with 5, Melissa with 4.
There you go.
Is that
That's it.
That makes it
That's
pretty
it.
straightforward.
That's pretty easy.
Yeah. So I would move that we appoint Stanley, Ray, Elise, and Jennifer as full members, and
Melissa
Second.
as an
Melissa,
alternate.
and why don't I go ahead and throw it in there and
Yeah.
Melissa as the alternate.
Second. A motion and a second.
You good, Trista?
That's why we record these.
Because Charlie hates shenanigans.
I'm going back and forth.
Motion carried unanimously.
Not a fan.
Board members, welcome or welcome back, whichever the case may be. And we look forward to some great opportunities in Parks and Rec.
Welcome.
All right, our next board is Finance and Budget. And we have 2 regular openings, and we have received James Smith. Are you here? Not here? And Lucas Martin is not here.
And I think there was an additional applicant, late
There
applicant in the packet.
That applicant withdrew this afternoon.
I'm sorry?
The applicant withdrew
Oh,
this afternoon,
okay.
so it's just the 2.
Darn it.
Let's appoint them anyway.
Yes, can we?
Okay.
I know her.
So, Mayor,
She's also a previous member.
I'm somewhat hesitant.
I know. I'd recommend we just hold off.
yeah, I was about to say, I mean,
In-
since
Yeah.
neither of them are here, I'd rather not.
I mean, reviewing the application, I would be comfortable moving forward with Lucas.
Not until I wouldn't. I mean, one of the things that I think is important that we've established is that hearing what they have to say.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know Mr. Martin. I do know Mr. Smith, and he's a very, very impressive guy.
We can bring them back in
I'll,
January.
Yeah,
you know,
that's what I'd say.
certainly defer to the will of the body.
Okay. Anybody else have an opinion or position?
This council has an opinion?
Hold on.
Well,
How did-
forget
I
that.
don't think
I
we're in a
don't remember
hurry.
any of
because I don't
them,
think
so-
next-
Okay,
next
let's
meeting's
just
fast,
move,
really
let's
time
move
sensitive.
finance and budget to January.
Yeah.
Okay, Equity Commission,
All right.
4 regular, 1 vacant.
And I think we've got a half term as well, don't we?
And an alternate.
Yeah.
And applications, Victor Toe.
So for this one, Victor Toe, Carlos, and Claudia have let me know they will not be in attendance.
Okay, Victor,
Carlos
Carlos,
and Claudia.
Claudia. All right, Corey Wallen.
So my name is Corey Wallen. I really kind of started my life dedicated to service. I grew up organizing the Operation Angel Tree for the Salvation Army. Later went on to volunteer at many cultural clubs in my college, which was working with the Sexuality and Gender Alliance Club, and we also worked hand in hand with the Black Alliance and Latino Alliance to instrument new places and new spaces for us in our student union. We really kind of lobbied the chancellor for quite some time to get those spaces on campus for those groups. and over the course of the past 10 years, I've actually lived in Austin. So I'm actually from North Carolina. But I've lived in Austin, Round Rock over in La Frontera, and currently, since I moved to Pflugerville about 2 years ago. So I'm very familiar with the growth of the city, and I've had my hand in the city and friends in the city for 10 years now. And really seen it grow from a little smaller town to what it is today. And I just want to bring that forward and make sure that as we grow, we are inclusive, we are thinking about accessibility to others, and making sure that you guys are accessible to the community, and also building up rapport with various contractors and things like that to make sure that no one is left behind in that way.
So Corey, one of the things that, at least in my viewpoint, my vision for this commission is the ability to be an ambassador for the council, the ability to be involved in the community, be listening to meetings, going to where they're at, as opposed to them coming to yourself. It's a very different role. It's different from the other boards, because the other boards, you have your meeting, you have your nice little chamber over there.
Yeah.
This is truly for the vision that we had, for at least from my standpoint, we had for this was to be in the community and bring back feedback, ideas, concepts, issues, concerns right there as well. So we make sure our policies, as well as our budget and a variety of other things, actually reflect the community that we serve.
Exactly.
It sounds to me, based on what you've done before, that you would be comfortable in that role. But I don't want to make assumptions, so I want to hear that from you.
So I do manage 3 large Facebook groups of about 1,000 people each for Asheville Equality. That was my hometown. Leander Equality. There's about 300 members there. Actually get together with the community. We actually set up a cookbook club where some of our friends all get together from that group, and we talk about issues and things like that, and we also do a lot of cooking. So but yeah, I do see myself as an ambassador, the kind of person that wants to get out in the community and really interact with folks.
I guess I'll be a little bit more forward than Councilman Mateer. How should I even start this? In my opinion, equity is more than just about race, color, preference, everything else.
Income, affordability.
Income. It could also include, our program that we did for our seniors, for Ride a Senior, helping them get to and from.
Accessibility. I know that's been an issue
in the past. We've had a problem with some of our members being, I'm not going to say one-sided, but
one issue ponies.
One issue, yeah. Are you going to be
I am
able
not
to
a one-issue
expand
pony.
that?
I have a list of stuff.
Get a lot.
So
Please notice he just held up his
Well,
hand.
and I'll say this because I'm asking this because your application almost seemed one-sided.
Okay, that's I take that, and I can understand how that comes forward. But honestly, I think that equality, like you said, does involve all those folks, the senior community, the less affordable. I have a neighbor who's on fixed income right now, and I care about her, and I care about the community staying in place that has been built here, and then also growing for those future members of the community. So there's I think equity also is talking about those folks that have lived in the community for so long, and they see you can see taxes going up, you can see affordability costs going up, and that's also an equity issue for me. That's one of my actual biggest equity issues.
See, that's why I like talking to them in person. I'm sorry.
No, it's true.
So my question to you, first of all, thank you for applying, would be, what is it that you personally will do to get out in the community to hear what the needs and concerns are from people beyond your neighborhood?
Are you
going to be a foot soldier?
I can, yes. I really want to get involved. I usually start online, getting in online groups, meetups, and things like that to meet people physically. But I think that going to community centers, talking to people at the library, I also believe cross-board collaboration would be a really big asset. Making sure that some of the Parks and Rec issues or the new development issues are also thought of in an equity stance and an equity perspective. So that's what I really want to get out in the community and meet those people. And I've been doing that, and I've been like I said, I have those groups. I have a big buildup of people in the local Austin area, and I think I want to help with that in the Pflugerville area.
Oh, is this Corey? I don't know his name. Oh. Thank you.
All right. Any other?
Reading your resume, you have obviously a great deal of digital experience.
Oh yeah.
How does that inform or empower your vision for the service on this commission?
Well, it's about designing for the person, the user, in this case, the resident, and understanding their needs, their wants, their desires, and then creating a equitable and good path to those services and to those resources. So I think I have a background in design. So design thinking really has empathy with the user or the resident. And so I think I can utilize some of that 10 years of learning from, I worked at IBM and Stripe for 10 years as a marketer, as a digital marketer. So I know how to build personas. I know how to have empathy for users and to create a sense of belonging for that user and make sure that they can accomplish their task effectively and without friction.
So I have a question. I know that we're talking about equity here, and I guess to me it relates to how we understand the community and what we understand about it in terms of its culture, its background, its talent, and also some of the areas that perhaps that need some encouragement, strengthening, building, developing. In terms of, and I'm sorry, I laid that out to get to this question. Is, I have seen this community grow, and I'm not going to tell you what the population was, but
272.
272. But it has changed.
Exactly.
It really, really has changed over the last 50 years.
Yeah.
I mean, more so probably in the last 5 years.
And economic waves from the metro are pushing people up to the north. And
Well,
yes.
you're right.
Yeah.
Well, the migration from Austin this way. And so there's a community out there, and I call them a community, that we can't seem to, well, I shouldn't say we can't seem, there doesn't seem to be enough involvement, and that's the Asian community.
Okay.
And I think I've scratched my head so many times.
Yeah.
How do we get
Inclusive
them to be
events, making sure that there's a time and space for those folks, and opening up, maybe to their concerns. I don't know if you would have some sort of community event that would bring everybody together, like Chinese New Year or something like that.
And we did an
So,
event that.
Yeah, and you do a lot of great events, and I think that's amazing because it's about uplifting the culture that's here from the Asian community, the Latino community, the Black community, the gay community. I think all of those all bring a different perspective, and I think all that diversity, I think, should be celebrated in the town. And so if a group feels comfortable, another group will start to feel comfortable too. So it's about being inclusive.
Well, and it's not that they're not interactive in the community, because they are, because there are groups that are actually investing in commercial development, office space, and all that. So they are involved. It's just they're just hidden.
Yeah, and I mean, there's cultural differences too that we have to pay attention to, and the collectiveness and things like that of an Asian community. Like, how do you become part of that? Like, extend your hand and bring someone into the fold, and that's what will really accelerate, I think, growth and acceptance of that community and their feeling of that.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you very much.
Cool.
Our next applicant, Dr. Virginia Stewart Miller.
broke my glasses today, so I'm gonna take them off so I won't feel too uncomfortable. Good evening to all of you, and thank you for the opportunity um, to come and share with you. I don't know how much I can say about myself. I'm a fifth generation Texan. I'm a native Austinite, so I've grown up in this area. I've been in Pflugerville since 2017. I've had three children graduate from the Pflugerville High School since that time. I actually intentionally moved to Pflugerville when I came back to this area, primarily because my sisters, my cousins, everyone is kind of out here in Pflugerville now. I guess you're probably most interested in why I feel I would be suitable to serve in this role and on this committee. I guess one of the things is I bring to you someone who has served in higher education. While I left Texas, I lived in Georgia, and in a higher education environment, you're dealing with diverse populations, students who are young, old, returning, just coming from all walks of life. And so I've had opportunities to serve and to address those individual needs. And my role or the way I work is pretty much as a servant leader. Um, even though I've been in quite a few leadership roles, I still am just a down to earth person. I don't necessarily like to be at the forefront. I like to find out what people need and be able to serve them, meet their needs, and get to know them very well. Um, I'll even say just listening to the conversation that was just held on Asians, particularly. That was the question that was posed. A lot of times we lump people. When you're dealing even with Asians, you're talking about very different populations. Individuals from India, China, Japan, and Vietnam. They're all very different, very distinct, and each of those cultures are different. A lot of times we tend to lump and categorize it. I think that's where equity, diversity, and inclusion is important in any organization, in government, and in the city. Um, I did do a little research, not as much as I would have liked to have time to do, but I did note that this is a new committee that was established in 2020. So that means that you are looking to make sure that there is a balance going forward, and that you're thinking innovatively and with an eye toward the future. What I couldn't find in my research was an equity action plan that identified how you would achieve those goals. So I think definitely specifically.
Oh, if you only knew.
That sounds like a great.
Absolutely does. You see all of our heads perk up when you said that.
But
Oh,
I
you're
can
in trouble now.
appreciate the fact that for the Aspire 2040 plan, it is at the top. Um, as I mentioned, I've been in quite a few different roles, different places. It's first just looking at what do you have now? Um, what do you do now? And how do you address the ways that you're currently doing business, how that impacts your particular goals in this particular space, in equity, in inclusion, especially given the diverse populations that are here. Um, the research I did find on the announcement showed that this is a majority minority community. So that means first looking at those various minority groups, having focus sessions with those groups, and kind of meeting people where they're at. Don't necessarily wait for people to come to you, but find opportunities to get to them, and interact with those individuals in their spaces. Um, I bring to you a research background. I don't tend to just jump to conclusions. I like to look for a situation. I think particularly in this space, you want to do ethnographic studies of the different populations that you serve and come up with a plan that really fits this community. Um, because I am a Texan, I'm kind of I kind of feel like we also need to preserve some of the things that we always and already do, who we are, where we've grown up. You know, one big difference I've seen even in the education of my kids here is when I was growing up, there was a time when Texas just had to do Texas history. You couldn't get out. You couldn't get out of high school in Texas without first knowing Texas history. And when you look at our history, it is unique. So I also think, you know, from across the country, I mean, we're different. We're really the only state that's ever been a country before we became a part of the United States. We think our own way. I think some of that is what we want to share with individuals coming into the community. Why is Texas unique? What makes it special? What makes our community what it is? But also embrace what they're bringing to the table from whatever background they're coming from, whether it's racial, religion, um, you know, living circumstance, social economic status, whatever it may be. But being able to embrace all of those different things about a person. A lot of times we don't appreciate what we have similar and we immediately jump on differences. So I just think really just being able to talk with people, sit down, and put together a plan, um, work the plan, see how well you do the plan, you know, make that review and target in on the goals. So that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you.
So Doctor, a couple things. One of the things that we found out in our research was that 1 out of every 5 families in Pflugerville is either a veteran, him or herself, or a relative, related of a veteran family. So we have a strong veteran core here in Pflugerville with that, which was contemplated in the inception of the Equity Commission as well with that. With that said, I'm intrigued to hear, I mean, you saw us just shake our heads when you talked about the Equity Action Plan because, yes, that's been a long, probing discussion amongst ourselves for a long time with that. And what we're trying to look at is, one, for people who are willing to go out in the community, as you said, meet them where they're at. 2, bring a growth mindset. Don't assume you know all the facts regarding specific things like that. We have great staff who actually do an excellent job, who have the research and understanding to actually bring some perspective on things with that as well, to enhance what you're learning from the community. And ultimately, 3, with that as well, is trying to execute something, a semblance of a plan to make sure that we actually have a great sounding board and reward and hearing system so we get the feedback that we need from these other aspects. You said that you don't necessarily like to be in the front, which means by definition that you like to work in collaboration with folks and make a difference. What we're looking at for people who are going to be teammates, not people who are going to be a bunch of trying to be leaders and trying to be on first on things. Is that something that intrigues you and you have the ability to execute that as well?
Most definitely. As my daddy used to say, and excuse the vernacular, sometimes you can have too many chiefs and no Indians. The whole thing there is you've got to collaborate. I like to, as I mentioned, servant leader. The way I work and the way I've been successful is to make sure that I'm understanding the vision and the plan of those that I'm serving, catch that vision, and then begin implementing it. I don't, but I am, you know, I do speak, I do serve, I do talk, I do lead, I do coach, I do what is required in order to get the job done that I'm trying to achieve. And that's pretty much how I operate. I'm very big on accountability, so I like to make sure that I'm doing my best to serve my peers, serve my supervisors, so to speak, and even just serve my colleagues. But you know, if the need arises, I'll step up in any role or capacity that's required of me. But at the same time, I just like to, I guess I do what I do and I try to do my best. And that's how I work, that's how I operate.
Another, just as important when it comes to the teamwork question, is another question. When the University of Texas plays the University of Florida, Who do you cheer for?
Well, see, now I started at Rice, and so I'm a,
So you don't know
I
anything
went
about
to the
football.
games for the halftime show. But you know, UT. I'm a Longhorn. I'm a Texan.
There we go.
That's it right there.
And she likes American football over soccer.
Yeah.
Always something. I'm just
Dr. Miller,
excited. Go ahead.
what I'm hearing you say and reading on the page here is that you are very interested in when you approach a new challenge, looking at the history and doing the research, making sure you thoroughly understand what you're dealing with, and then developing an action plan based on data. Is that correct?
Yes, data-driven decision making is, I guess, a part of my job. What you can't tell from my resume is most of the roles that I've been in for the timing was inaugural. When I was at Albany State, it was their first CIO role. So I had to come in there in an environment that was resistant to my role because it was new and it wasn't within under the academic affairs department. It was the CIO reporting directly to the president. That was different. It's come around over time, but it was an inaugural role. Alamo Colleges, same thing. It was a new role. District director for Alamo Colleges Online. That was a new position that was just created. I was the first person that served in it, and I fulfilled that challenge successfully. So I've been in those places where it's new, it's uncomfortable, and you're going to get the resistance. It doesn't bother me because my goal is to listen. I am a little bit of a data geek. I play around with the data. I look at the data. I like to touch it. I like to feel it. And I like to get new data and see what is more interesting about that data and ask questions. One thing I can say I learned about my doctoral degree, I wasn't in the research to come up with a theory. I was in the practical application side of things. So I combined the data that I was looking at with more of a qualitative aspect of actually sitting down, interviewing people, and asking them questions. Even for my research and over my career, I'll date myself a little bit because I started IT in COBOL, and now, and we're in a whole different world now. But what I found over time was that you could have the same technology and, people go buy stuff. And the same two organizations can buy PeopleSoft. And one will implement it successfully and another one not so successfully. And tons and millions of dollars are spent. And no one really understood why. I wanted to know why. That was my research question. And you know what? It had nothing to do with the technology. It was just a tool. It had to do with the training you offer to the people, the skills that you help develop them with. What was leadership's response to or reason for pursuing that solution? How are you going to equip people to do the job that you're now asking them to do with the new tool? How are you going to examine your processes? I came up with 16 factors, and I don't know them all off the top of my head. And then what I also realized was that it was different based on the size of the organization. And the factors actually shifted. And so you had to look specifically at the organization, its dynamic, its people, and how it was structured in order to come up with a way to get their technology through the door. So anyway, now I get excited about, but I think understanding people is the most important part of what you can do when you're trying to achieve anything, and really hearing them for who they are and what they want to achieve. We kind of skipped over the question about veterans. Veterans are a unique population too. My father was a veteran. My brother was a veteran, two different areas. And then where I work at now at TWC, we do a lot to serve veterans. When you're dealing with veterans, depending upon whether they're wartime or peacetime, they have different needs. Definitely wartime veterans, you do need to look at what are you offering for mental health. You also need to look at what are you offering for physical services, depending upon what that veteran experienced. There's also just a difference in the culture when you're coming out of the military and back into life because you've been with a unit for a very long period of time, and there was a structure and a way and a hierarchy. So you have to deal with um, um, the individual mindset that has been successful in that range. And again, it's always about asking those individuals and asking the individual group as you identify them what they need, what are their interests, and work and listen to people regardless of their background to get them to feel comfortable in talking with you so that they can express their need rather than you, I guess, how to project your perception of their need onto them. Those are two totally different things.
All right. Thank you very much.
I'm gonna read one thing real quick.
Okay.
Change agent and technology enthusiast merging hands-on leadership style with genuine communication skills to guide teams to performance excellence.
I'm gonna use that.
That came from my LinkedIn, but it sounded exactly like your opening statement here. Demonstrated record of success in modernizing legacy application to enhance organizational performance and migrating to cloud technical architectures. I am excited to see a fellow technologist step forward, willing to serve on one of our boards. Thank you.
We are very excited that you techno-Americans are excited.
Techno-Americans. We're our own subset.
Oh, no, yeah, we're gonna-
we have
we're
many
gonna go
special needs.
Yeah, can we go
Including
read
all the data.
some copybooks together later?
Got a box
All right.
of them.
Yeah, there's still a lot of COBOL out there, right?
Thank you very much.
Mayor, would you entertain a motion?
Where are we at?
Oh, I forgot. Wait,
Where are we at, sir?
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Miller.
All right.
So, those were the only two.
And the reason why I was saying entertain a motion, I feel, especially particularly with this commission, the only people I feel comfortable with are people who are showing up and having this conversation with us.
The only exception I would make to that is Claudia.
I agree.
And if I may, she asked me to make sure she's missing because of the school board
Right.
tonight.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, that was important this evening.
That is important, given.
I personally know Carlos. I think he'd probably do a good job, but his application
think
was
so?
definitely a bit lacking
Yeah.
for not being here in
I'm just
person.
looking at her
So.
impressive resume.
I would like to meet him.
And I spoke to him. He said, yeah, he wanted to be able to address it personally. So give him an opportunity to come back.
Yeah.
So maybe we should
Well,
put this
I feel
board
like
off
we-
until
I think
a
we
later
got
date.
three.
I think we have three.
I think we have three.
Yeah.
So let's do the.
You want to do the polling?
Yeah.
All right. Who's starting?
All right, where do we want to start?
Let's start on Doug's
You
end.
gonna start with me? That's fine.
We're gonna.
Figure we should probably kind of rotate it to give you all.
Oh, go,
Yeah,
go,
we started
go,
at
go.
David. Yeah, we did. We'll go back the other way. I'm gonna say Corey, Dr. Miller, and Claudia.
Okay.
Are we?
Corey, Dr. Miller, and Claudia as well.
Okay.
Corey, Dr. Miller, and Claudia.
Ditto.
Okay. Corey and Virginia.
Dr. Miller.
Doctor.
Yeah. Okay. That's my two.
Virginia, Corey, and Claudia.
Dr. Miller.
Well, we got
Is
three.
that everyone?
We got three.
Sounds like we got three.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we've got. I hesitate because there are 7 of us, right? We've got one person with 5 votes, one with 4, and one with 3. If we have someone who only has 3 votes from the 7 of us, it seems
Yeah.
But
on edge.
it's ranked. So, I don't know if it's, I don't know if it was an official vote. I think it was just a ranking metric.
Very true. Very true.
So I'll throw the,
Did I count that right, or did I count wrong? I'm sorry.
No, you're.
Uh-oh.
I thought I had four. I thought I had four for Claudia.
yeah,
Did
Yeah,
I miss
I have
someone?
four. I have four for Claudia.
Okay. I must have miscounted them.
so I'll make a motion. We'll see where it goes.
Okay.
Motion to appoint Claudia, Corey, and Virginia to the
Second.
Equity
Dr.
Commission.
Miller.
Second.
Dr. Miller.
Dr. Miller.
You didn't call Stanley
Somebody
Doctor
goes to
I didn't address
trouble again.
You-
I feel like
He didn't. He
I
didn't
feel like
introduce
I'm-
himself.
Hey,
He
I-
didn't
I-
introduce himself as doctor.
All right.
I was quite impressed. We
I have
had
a motion.
three
Did somebody
PhDs
second?
and,
I did.
and
Okay.
one
Rudy
person
did.
with 3 masters.
All right.
Yeah. You guys don't call me Dr. Matera.
You don't call me the Honorable Mr. McDonald.
Rudy Mateer
They're not
Esquire.
going.
Motion carried.
It's a Juris Doctor.
Oh,
it's
he's not
JD,
any more a
he's a-
doctor than I am.
It's-
Okay, we
I
have,
thought we'd just go with
or an
Esquire.
ED.
Esquire.
That's that's
All right.
Deutschenfest
All right,
committee.
Deutschenfest.
We have, one applicant present. Well, I don't know if she's
What?
present.
Wait.
What did y'all just vote on again?
Claudia.
I wonder if I messed up on, because the gentleman that's here, is that Carlos or Corey?
That's Corey.
Okay,
Corey.
I just wanted to make sure. Okay.
Well, if you messed up, I messed up because I did it.
No, she had
Corey's here.
I heard.
Carlos
Cor-
is
I heard
not.
you say
Okay,
Corey.
I just wanted to make sure. I just wanted to make clear.
Okay.
Okay.
I was like, I heard.
Okay, just making sure.
All
That
right.
was correct.
Moving.
Better be safe.
Rachel Martin. Patiently waiting. What?
Okay, I want to clarify some things. Okay, so on this committee, there's actually how many openings?
So there are currently 3 regular openings because of the amendment to the Deutsche Invest resolution at the last meeting.
Okay, so not four, three.
Not
Correct.
4. 3.
Not that it matters because the
Because
number
we
of
have one
applications.
applicant.
But go ahead.
There's still room. Don't panic.
2 of those openings are currently vacant. So we are basically removing one of the vacancies.
And you have appointed Melissa Cole to the Parks Board. So I need an answer on can an individual serve on the Parks Board and Deutschenfest?
No, she's an alternate though on the parks board. Melissa.
True, but it's,
It's
She still counts.
Okay.
So, what's the answer?
well, a committee is not this is not a charter committee.
Normally I would, is this a charter question?
He has a charter question.
And
Okay.
Deutschenfest committee is not it's not a, what is it? It's a resolution or an ordinance?
It's not in our.
But it's not a chartered.
And it's not our charter.
Yeah, normally I would be very uncomfortable about having somebody on multiple boards, but Deutschenfest and Parks and Rec are sort of hand in glove. Well,
I
strikes me as not crazy to have somebody on both of those.
What are you about to say?
Our city attorney has given us direction on that.
Yeah. So you're saying no.
So, this is horribly worded, this charter, all right, with respect to the way it works, and so I'm just gonna read it to you, all right?
Okay.
So, it says, 801, in addition to the boards and commissions established by this charter, the city council by ordinance may establish any boards and commission it deems necessary for the conduct of city business and management of municipal affairs.
Okay.
All right?
So is it a committee, a board, or a commission?
Yes. I would say yes. It's just it's a name.
It's a name.
It's a name. Next, membership qualifications. A member of a board or commission shall be a registered voter of the city who has resided within the corporate city limits or within territory annexed prior to the appointment for at least 12 months. So there's that. Then it states, board or commission members shall serve without compensation and shall not be employed by or hold any other position in city government. So the issue is being on another board or commission, holding any other position in city government.
And what's your?
And I have said that holding another position in city government is not the same as sitting on a board or committee. That's my personal interpretation of this charter.
Can we ask her also
Melissa,
to come up?
Yeah. Can we?
She might not even want to.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Why don't we ask
And
first?
and so just to finalize it, membership disqualifications, so that's a general statement. There's a specific statement that says, no member of a board or commission shall remain in their position after being elected or appointed to city office. Fine. And there's another, no member or board or commission shall remain in their position after being elected or appointed to a city office. And these boards and committees are not city offices. So that's very specific, as opposed to a general being a board or committee.
City office would be
Right.
finance director.
So your opinion
Or,
is that,
or planning and zoning commission, or zoning board of adjustment.
so I'm moving the ball forward. So your opinion is that they could do both.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. You good with that,
That's
Serena?
okay.
It depends, it depends on the board or commission. If the board or commission is in office, then the answer to that question is no.
Okay.
In my
And in
opinion.
what scenarios would
And the
it be in
ones that
office?
are officers
Planning and
are
zoning commission, zoning board of
statutorily
adjustment, both of them are officers under the law,
Under the state statute.
under the state statutes.
Say it, Serena. You're
No,
laughing.
no,
I
it's
see
good.
that smirk on your
No,
face.
it's like,
Say it.
it's trying to figure out which one is ordinance and which one is resolution and which one is.
I don't think
it's-
that matters. Although it is vague, but I would argue that these charter provisions only apply to boards and commissions established by city council or established by charter.
So Parks and Rec is established by
City council.
city, oh, really?
It's actually,
Oh, that's right,
yeah.
we took it out.
Mhm.
That's right, we took it out. So both of them are,
Right.
I got you.
As opposed to a statutorily required and created boards of commission, like a
Alright.
zoning board of adjustment, like a TERS
I got you.
board.
So just asking your opinion.
All right.
What would you like to?
Would you like to also serve on the
Yeah.
Deutsche Fest committee?
So I thought about this before I did this because I thought a precedent had been set with Amy Rabb being on both Deutschenfest and the board.
So
And the what?
With Amy Rabb had been on both Deutschenfest committee and the Parks and Rec.
so
And
are you?
that's the only
So you're
reason.
saying that you would like to serve on both?
Yeah.
You would like
You'd
to serve
like
on
to
both?
serve on both.
Okay, that's
Okay.
what we wanna make
That's
sure.
all we need to know.
Okay,
It's only
that's
for
all we
one
need to
That's
year.
all we need to know.
If it's permissible under the city
Yeah,
charter, it
he-
strikes
he
me
said-
as
he's-
not
Well,
crazy
well,
from
so
a policy
Melissa-
point of view.
But time out,
Currently
can I clarify
serves.
that?
Mhm.
Just,
And-
there's a reason Amy Rabb was there. Your old resolution said that the Parks chair would serve. It's a different rule now. Let me.
I'm not
It's not
worried. I'm not.
apples.
I'm not as
Yeah.
worried about the
It's just
precedent.
not apples to
No, you're right. But he said
Gotcha.
he's comfortable with it. City attorney, you're saying you want to do both. That's fine. We need to remember that moving forward because we've had a policy, in fact, where we haven't done that.
Yes.
So we
that's
just need to
correct.
make sure moving forward that's
And
not the
and I
case.
did not know that until tonight.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's
And,
fine.
and I want to be clear, you are currently serving, so we would not be reappointing her. She's currently holding that
Deutschenfest.
seat.
Finishing
But
it-
did not
finishing it
I've got
relinquish
one
it
more,
with
Yeah.
one more year on
earlier appointment.
Deutschenfest.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Melissa.
It's not apples to apples.
All
but
right.
It's apples to candied apples.
It's incredibly
Sure.
vague
Martin,
and vague.
Hi.
after
We're doing
enduring
the
that,
best
would
that we
you
can.
like
Hi.
to introduce yourself?
I'm Rachel. I moved to Pflugerville in 2019. I have not taken the 101 class. It is actually really hard to get into. As soon as it opens up, it closes up, and you guys are already all booked up for next year.
It's a pretty cool class.
I'm guessing so.
So why Deutschenfest?
I'm all about the
She was doing
festivals.
her bio. Oh, you're just gonna cut.
No,
it.
that's okay.
Yeah.
No. I'd rather just answer questions than tell you about me. I love festivals. I love being a part of festivals. I am actively involved in quite a few, actually. I just finished up the Texas Viking Fest, and I've been involved in that for the last, I think, 5 years, and that's a whole lot of fun. And then there's Renaissance fairs and festivals that I've worked for and worked with. The vendors, the organization, the performers, everything, the patrons, and I'm about it. And I've gone to the Deutschenfest for the last 2 years, so this would have been my 3rd year, and it's so much fun. And I see so much potential, and I see kids running around having a blast, and parents sitting, listening to the music, and I want to be part of it.
What would you change?
I would add stuff for the in-betweeners. So I have a 17-year-old daughter, and she came and she sat. And she
Boy,
sat.
we heard
And she sat. And then she pulled up Uber and went home. And I was like, man, that's such a bummer because there's so many things that you could be doing. And then I looked around and I was like, well, actually, there really isn't. So what can you be doing? Like, what would you want to do? And she and I sat around and talked about it, and we haven't come up with a full-on list, but, you know, we're getting there.
You got some ideas, okay.
I do. I have some ideas.
But you've worked at other festivals. So what do the other festivals to cater to? Caesar and I were looking at each other because we have kids that age, around that age. What would you do to cater to that generation?
Oh, gosh, there's so many things. Well, first it would have to go with the festival. So it would have to be, you know, themed with your Deutschen Fest. So we'd
no
have to look at that.
Vikings.
Not Vikings. I mean, I'd say axe throwing, but I say axe throwing goes well with everything. But I don't necessarily think axe throwing would go well with the Deutschen Fest. However, if you had more of like an arts thing or a learn a little dance or do your hair in a certain way or have something that, you know, is not only educational but like hands-on and fun. I don't really know. I should have been more prepared.
I'm thinking there were plenty of Germanic tribes that threw axes.
You know, I can find the I can find something to support that. You know, just more things for the teens. I don't know. I feel like we've got face painting and that's great. And, you know, little kids love running around with getting their face painted. But my 17-year-old is not going to sit there and get her face painted. But she'll get her hair braided. Or, you know, if there was something that she could make or put together and bring home, whether it's something I pay for that she makes there or something that's like a craft that's already there, she would do that. But I think it was like little paper things and stuff that had, you know, toddlers and whatnot at it. And I don't know.
No, it's a fair point. I hadn't really even thought about that age group, and yeah, I mean, most of them you just see them circling around with their friends and gossiping and
right.
Maybe step up the face painting and go with like a henna.
Something.
I don't know.
But that's a good point. Yeah, how do we market to that age group?
Or get them involved, you know, have them running a booth, have them doing something, have them teaching the kids how to do the art instead of, you know, just walking around. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's so many things we could think of.
Fortnite dance contest or something, right?
I think that's more of the junior high, you know, like 5th, 6th grade, but, you know, we're getting there.
She's got some opinions.
That sounds great. And just for the record,
yes,
Saxony is named after a people who were especially feared because of their fearsome weapon that they used called the Sayax.
There you go. So we could have axe throwing.
That would be very German.
There we go.
I know. I'm just thinking about liability. All right.
Well, whatever company you hire would have their insurance, obviously. I mean, come on now. We're not going to go out here throwing axes all willy-nilly without insurance.
Let's have the beer drinking competition right before the axe throwing.
There is no beer drinking
Okay, this is just a recipe for disaster.
Jim's good at the jalapeno eating one, right?
Oh yeah, that's a good do that.
You know
Drunks
what? It's
throwing
true.
axes, very German.
You know what? No.
I was thinking barrel throwing.
You know what?
Can
They
we,
do the
heave
chip
some
challenge.
barrels or something?
I mean, they have the barrels where you stand on them and you roll forward and you roll backwards and you do all that. I mean, that could be fun. I don't know about the liability on that, but
We'll leave it to the attorneys.
No,
There's a waiver.
there's a good one I'd like to recommend is the 55-gallon barrel roll competition.
Oh my gosh.
Where you balance on the.
I'm here for it. Let's do it. We just
I'll
need one.
participate.
We just need waivers.
You can grease up a guinea pig and let it go.
There you
I don't
go.
know about
Mayor, will
that.
you entertain a motion?
Will you stop with your guinea pig being greased up?
We better hurry up with that motion.
Quickly, motion.
I move we appoint Rachel
Second.
Martin to the Deutschen Fest Committee.
Motion and second.
As long as she brings the Viking helmet.
And the Sayax.
They actually didn't really wear helmets with horns, but we'll get to that later.
Interesting. I'm learning more and more.
Okay, motion carried. Thank you.
All right.
Well, welcome to
Moving
the
on.
Deutschen Fest Committee.
to, what are we doing next?
I think we're done. No?
No, we got Board of Adjustments and personnel.
Oh, Board of Adjustment. So we only have one applicant, Kevin Kluge, and actually he has been the current member, and he's reapplying. Kevin, are you here by any chance? I mean, I know Kevin. I think the whole world knows Kevin.
I know him from way back.
Yeah.
I move we reappoint Kevin to the.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to reappoint Mr. Kluge.
I think there were 3 people seconding that motion. I don't know how that worked.
We want to give Trista a range.
She heard Jim. Okay.
That booming Scottish voice.
Okay, motion carried, I think. Hold on. These buttons aren't working, Trista. Sorry. Maybe my fingers.
And I maybe know what that means, that person.
The last one is the Personnel Appeal Board, and I don't think, did council get anything on that, Trista?
No, so those two, we reached out to those, to Daniel, to all of them. Daniel Williams and Terry Knighton said they were interested in reappointing. I did not get new applications from them. Certainly can.
You did not get an application from Daniel or Terry?
Correct. They are currently serving.
Right.
And they are interested in rejoin. Yes.
Okay. And I
Mr.
think
Terry is here.
Mr. Knighton's here.
Yes.
Terry, would you mind stepping forward for just a moment? And Terry goes back several years as far as public service, I may add.
Good evening. So you just want me to tell you a little bit about myself? So I basically moved to Austin in 1984, but we were in the far north across from IBM, so we're actually kind of in Travis County, but Pflugerville Independent School District. Right. So I was at IBM for 11 years, and then I moved to Applied Materials. I was there for 17 years. I'm an electrical engineer by training. I spent roughly 30 years in high-tech manufacturing. Last 5 before I retired with Luminex, a biomedical equipment company. So that was in 2020 I retired. So then I just retired and said, well, there's maybe something I can kind of go do, maybe, with the city. So Personnel Appeal Board I applied to. Now in those 30 years I served in various senior management role, executive roles within those corporations. So I'm very aware of personnel type activity that can kind of come up that needs to be, I call it adjudicated or looked at. Now the best activity that can kind of happen is if the Personnel Appeal Board is not needed.
Correct.
Right. So that's the best case. But if it is needed, then I think I know I have the experience to kind of sit back and objectively take a look at both sides of the issue to work with the others. Now, during that time, I partnered, well, in any role, you partner exclusively with HR and the attorneys. Sometimes I would want to bite my foot off to kind of get out of those meetings with the attorneys because they lasted a long, long time. But no, it's all for a very good cause. Because you are dealing with someone's their career and their livelihood. Typically, when you kind of get to that point.
Yep.
Right. Okay. So again, that's about me, kind of in a nutshell.
All right, Terry. Thank
you. But I had the COVID year was kind of I know I attended PF 101, but I think it was virtual during that time. It was during maybe 2021 time frame. That was on that. So, any questions that you have for me?
Okay, don't think we do, Terry.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
This is your second term? This will be your second term?
Yes.
On the board?
Yes.
All right.
We almost met the first term, but one time during my first term, but it got worked out, so it didn't.
That sounds a lot like the Board of Adjustment.
A little, yeah. Thank you, sir.
But they're there if we need them.
All right.
That's the important part.
And did we say Danielle was not here? Right. Okay.
All right. Mr. Mayor, will you entertain a motion?
Of course.
I move to reappoint Terry Knighton.
So I don't know if it has to be done in a different manner. This is us confirming the mayor's appointment.
Right.
So
Is that-
I think you just have to say who you're appointing and then we confirm it.
Well, Mr. Knighton is someone I would recommend appointing.
Okay.
So, all right.
I move to confirm the mayor's appointment.
There we have a
Second.
second.
Thank you.
We got a second and we're
Appreciate
good.
Thank you very much.
Got to get it on the record.
Did you say like that, like Elvis?
Mhm.
Okay. I saw that.
All right, motion carried. And I think that
Green,
concludes
green.
everything.
That does. I'm sorry, Jim.
All right. We're adjourned.
Rebook. All right. I'll see y'all.